I call this meeting of the Church Civil of Universal City Independent School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been called, that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. Time is now 6 o'clock. Roll call.
All board members are present.
Student representative recognition, Dr. Gibson.
Thank you, President Westbrook, and guests and staff members. Tonight, we're going to let Ms. Miller introduce you to Manuel Cerrato, a fourth grader at Pascal Elementary School.
Good evening, members of the board, President Westbrook, and Superintendent Dr. Gibson. I am Allison Miller, the principal of Pascal Elementary. It is my honor to introduce to you our student representative, Manuel Cerrato, who is a fourth grader. He has been a Patriot since kindergarten. He is a member of our ORF ensemble as well as my advisory council, and he's proud to say he has all A's. He exemplifies the traits of a graduate. He exemplifies the traits of a graduate as a dynamic leader because he is a respectful role model who has added value to our school as part of our advisory council. He has showed that he is self-motivated by excelling with all A's throughout his educational career, and he is future ready by participating in our extracurricular activities. His favorite subject is math because it is fun, and he says he's good at it. He enjoys playing outside and playing video games, and he also has a rock collection. When he finds a good one, he introduces it to his collection. He is joined tonight by his parents, Mr. and Mrs. Cerrato, and his sister, Minerva. Will you please stand to be recognized? Manuel will be leading us in our pledge, so if you will please stand.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming. It's a large crowd. Hopes everyone is having a wonderful new year to begin with. As part of President's welcome, I'm going to take a little presidential privilege. So I said thank you, but over the course of the last week or so, I had an opportunity to hear Lisa Jackson speak about bullying and cyberbullying at the Cibolo City Council meeting. Then I had an opportunity to go to the exceptional governance up in Austin, and there was some mention about bullying there and what we could do about it. And so I tried to and then Amy Thomas sent me an email. And so sort of the 3 strikes rule, something's important here. It's a notable mention. So I thought I would try to relate it back to a story with my uncle. My uncle, for those who don't know, he played at Baylor. He was the first African-American to play football back in 1968-69 in the old Southwest Conference, way back when. So during the 68-69, you can sort of understand the sort of bullying, the racism, the drama, the unnecessary stuff that he endured. And what he learned, and it was so bad that I think for 20 years afterwards, he still harbored some resentment towards Baylor and the coaching staff. But what we learned from all of that was there was the environment, there was the person bullying, and then the reception of the bullying, my uncle. So the environment here, I think for Church Cibolo Universal City Independent School District, I think we've done a great job of creating rules, regulations, and doing our best to enforce it. So I think as a school district and as a school board, I think we're holding our own on that level. For those doing bullying, that's a passion, that's a mental and sort of a heartfelt deal that we're gonna have to deal with, for a long time coming, because how do you change somebody's heart and change somebody's mind overnight? I don't think it can happen. However, we do have some jurisdiction over how we act. Our acts, our attitude, our actions, that's what we do have control over. And so I think we have social emotional learning being presented in the district. And so I would hope that our students are taught some resilience, There was an article in the Psychology Today magazine talking about dandelions and orchids. So some students are hardy, they're resilient, like dandelions, they'll pop up everywhere. And then others are orchids and they need more care. And so what I hope in the future is that Church Cibolo Universal City Independent School District will generate some resilience in our students, but they look and act and as beautiful as any orchid. And so that's my vision for the future. And so to be clear, I'm opposed to any bullying, cyberbullying. I don't think we should tolerate it on any level. But there is a personal responsibility to become resilient. And with that, I'll get off my soapbox. So thank you very much. Next, we have Vice President's recitation of district mission, vision, values.
Our mission at SCUCISD is to have a diverse community founded in trust and transparency, commits to empower all students to fulfill lifelong potential through inspiring learning experiences. Our vision is to inspire, innovate, and excel. Our values are leadership, character, commitment, service, and learning. Our priorities are priority 1, all graduates will be college and or career and are military ready. Priority 2 is high performing and engaged workforce. Priority 3 is a highly satisfied students, parents, and community. And priority 4 is efficient district and campus operations.
Board recitation of their district belief statements.
We believe all students have the capacity to learn and excel. And we believe a safe, secure, and supportive environment is paramount to learning.
We believe living our core values of leadership, character, commitment, service, and learning. We believe engaging, interactive, and authentic teaching creates empowered, inspired learners prepared for our changing world.
We believe technology is a relevant tool that enhances learning in and beyond the classroom. We believe in a professional learning community that fosters collaboration for continuous improvement.
We believe transparent, clear, and timely communication among all is critical to success. We believe measures of success go beyond standardized testing.
We believe public education is defined by the local community with limited state involvement.
Thank you very much. Let's have the Vice President's overview of good governance indicators and board member ethics.
So each month we're highlighting one of our good governance indicators and one of our ethical standards. And our ethics, as a board member, we shall promote the best interest of the district as a whole, and to that end shall adhere to the following, and one of those is a student-centered focus. I will be continuously guided by what is best for all students in the district. And one of our good governance self-checks is our mission, vision, and values. And you can see that we recite those at each meeting, and a comprehensive statement of goals are developed in place for the district. And so we look at that on an annual basis. Our criteria for consideration is our mission, vision, value statements, and goals are written. They describe and desired quality for our community. The staff and community input is solicited and considered, and each member of the board can state in general terms the content of our current goals.
Recognition of student representatives for the month of January. Dr. Gibson.
Thank you, President Westbrook, and it's always my pleasure to introduce our students of the month. And just as a reminder and way of introduction, you've already heard them referenced a couple of times. In addition to our strategic plan, we're seeking to embed 5 traits of a graduate: dynamic leader, self-motivated, skilled communicator, service orientation, and future ready. And so tonight it's my pleasure to introduce 2 fine young people that embody these traits, and they'll meet their administrators at the podium for further introduction. But Jillian Moore, a 12th grader representing Clemens High School, and Ronald Estes, a 12th grader representing Steele High School, are our students of the month. And you guys can go ahead and go meet your administrators down at the podium.
You ready? All right. Good evening, Dr. Gibson, President Westbrook, and members of the board. I'm Julie McClellan, Assistant Principal at Clemens High School, and it is my pleasure to be here this evening to introduce our Clemens January Student of the Month, Jillian Moore. Jillian is joined tonight by her father and mother, Mr. and Mrs. Moore. If you could please stand to be recognized. She's also escorted tonight by her taffy sponsor, Miss Frisbee. If you'll please stand. I'd like to share a little about our Buffalo. Jillian Moore is a senior at Samuel Clemens High School, and she's attended our schools in the SCUC district for the past 8 years. Throughout her years in high school, she has participated in clubs such as Key Club, National Honor Society, and TAFE, which is the Texas Association of Future Educators. It's always my honor to introduce a teacher. This will be Jillian's 4th year on the varsity golf team, and during the 17-18 school year, Jillian served as the treasurer of TAFE, but she's now currently the president of TAFE. She is also currently serving as a Region 20 TAFE officer, and she recently hosted the Region 20 Leadership Conference and Contest in November at Our Lady of the Lake University in San Antonio. Jillian has prepared for college by taking AP classes and focusing on her extracurricular activities and schoolwork. She states that her AP classes challenge her to be a critical thinker and to become better prepared for college courses. Go advanced placement. Jillian has already been accepted to Texas State University, and she's already received a $20,000 academic scholarship, $20,000 academic scholarship to Sam Houston State University. Yay! I hate to disappoint you, however, Jillian hopes to carry on her family tradition and attend Texas A&M University. Go Mom and Dad. Jillian has a passion for children and teaching and wishes to pursue her passion in college. And after graduating in Clemens in June, Jillian plans to attend Texas A&M University and major in elementary education. As always, it's my honor to introduce a future Texas educator, dynamic leader, and of course, an Aggie, Jillian Moore.
Good evening, Dr. Gibson, President Westbrook, board members, district employees, and members of the community. My name is Jillian Moore. I am a senior at Samuel Clemens High School, and I'm honored to speak to you today. Throughout my high school career, I have remained active in different clubs and organizations, which include varsity golf, Key Club, National Honor Society, and the Texas Association of Future Educators, or TAFE. In addition to school activities, I have volunteered my time in the Schertz community and surrounding areas, as well as maintained a part-time job. I strongly believe that being involved in these activities has not only enriched my life, but has also allowed me to find my path and prepare me for college. As the president of TAFE at Clemens and a Region 20 officer, I have made countless connections with educators on the local and the state level. As a member of TAFE, I was fortunate enough to qualify for state the past 2 years, an achievement that allowed me to further my growth as an educator. I have also participated in Ready, Set, Teach throughout Samuel Clemens High School. RST gives high school students the opportunity to obtain real-world skills in teaching. Being a part of the Ready, Set, Teach program the last 2 years and working with enthusiastic preschool students has helped me cultivate my passion for education. Thanks to Ms. Frisbee, my mentor teachers, I have learned the fundamentals of being a teacher. I was challenged to create engaging lesson plans, bulletin boards, and assist in the classroom. Through this opportunity, I have gained practical classroom experience that will help me in college, student teaching, and eventually in my own classroom. Thank you, SCUC, Clemens High School, and Ready, Set, Teach for helping me find my passion and providing an opportunity for me to explore it. During the last 8 years, SCUC teachers have inspired, motivated, and given me the tools to prepare me for life after graduation. In the fall, I plan to attend Texas A&M University and major in elementary education. My hope is to have the same impact on my students that the teachers at Sipple, Schlother, Corbett, and Clemens have had on me. Thank you.
Good evening, Dr. Gibson, President Westbrook, and members of the board. My name is Trina Simmons. I'm one of the assistant principals at Byron P. Steele High School, and I would like to introduce to you an amazing young man, Ronald Estes. He is joined today by his mom and dad and his younger sister, if you'd please stand, or they're in the back. And also, he is representing the Air Force Junior ROTC today, and Colonel Hinch is also here escorting him. Ronald is currently a senior at Byron P. Steele High School and is involved in many extracurricular activities such as student council, NHS, swimming, gifted and talented, and our Air Force Junior ROTC. Over his years of high school, he has pushed himself to be the best he can be, and says one of the many things that has helped him get there is the ROTC program at the high school. In his school, he has accomplished, at Steele, he's accomplished many things with the support of those around him. He is an all-state lettered athlete. He has been promoted to Cadet Corps Commander in our Air Force Junior ROTC and has been coined by the Brigadier General James Dottie for a community service projects. He's been recognized for his efforts with the City of Cibolo by Mayor Alan Dunn and Mayor Stosh Boyle, and has been awarded the Valero Alamo Bull Scholarship and American Legion Post-Winter Scholarship, which totals $8,000 for his tuition, and it's growing. He volunteers with his local church as the sound manager and youth leader, and he has also attended Boys State last summer for his leadership training, which is carried over into his daily life. In the ROTC program, he started as a follower, listening to those above him and learning from them. He was involved in color guard and countless volunteer opportunities such as Adopt a Highway, Campus Cleanup, Spirit Team, Relay for Life, and many more. As Ronald persevered, he was given the chance to demonstrate what he learned from being a follower, to lead fellow cadets through activities such as Cibolo Fest and Veterans Day ceremony. His leadership skills are a direct reflection of the people who have mentored him in the program. Ronald's efforts earned him the position of Corps Commander this year at Steele ROTC. His belief is to show understanding and have compassion for the cadets he is now responsible for. With this opportunity, he feels he'll be able to demonstrate past lessons learned in the ROTC program. His future plans are not to attend Sam Houston, but to attend the Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs. He is going into the high-demand career of cybersecurity with aspirations of being a United States Air Force officer. He is looking forward to serving his country with honor. Ronald, he exemplifies all of our traits of a leader, and I'm proud to introduce him.
Thank you so much. Good evening, Dr. Gibson, President Westbrook, and members of the board. My name is Ronald Estes, and I'm the Corps Commander at Steele AFJ ROTC TX20064. Today I'll be talking to you about the things that we as a Corps have done and what we have upcoming. I will be going over our previous, current, and future endeavors and some of our accolades over the year. This year has been a great success for our Corps, and it's continuing to be such. As we started this year, we have set our goals relatively quick, and as a group, we came up with many goals for us to strive for, because we all know that goals are the basis of any organization. They are as follow. 85% of all cadets pass all classes. Cadets will meet or exceed 75% extracurricular participation rate in JROTC events. We will visit all 7 feeder schools once. We will recruit 32% of the Corps from the current district feeder school. We will hold at least 4 fundraisers for charities, and the Cadet Corps will average 25 hours of community service per cadet. Looking at what we've done so far, we are meeting our goal of 85 cadets passing all classes. We have averaged over 5,000 community service hours this year, meeting our goal and surpassing where we were last year, and we still have a whole semester left. We have also had numerous charity events this year, feeding many families for Thanksgiving and Christmas, and on top of all this, we have done many events for our community, such as a 9/11 ceremony, Cibolo Fest, a Veterans Day ceremony, Adopt a Highway, and many more to come. As we transition over to the second semester, we make sure that we focus on recruiting. We understand that our biggest resource of that is our feeder schools, such as Dobie and Corbett. As we speak, we have an elective fair at Steele where we show incoming freshmen what we do, and tomorrow we are traveling over to Dobie to show them our teams and what our core values mean to us. Right now, we are also planning our annual military ball, in which cadets will go over to the Shirt Civic Center to dance with their friends and celebrate the great work and effort that we have put into this year. Recently, we have been visited by General Namai, our home center commander, the first time that Steele has had anyone from this position come down into our campus. He also recognized our flight scholarship winner, Andrew Gilman, who will be attending a summer university to earn a private pilot license. We are looking forward to doing many other things like this, like a ceremonial flag burning, visiting all of our feeder schools, more fundraisers, and other things to come. Even our cadets have thought about their futures. With 6 of our cadets already enlisted, 1 with an appointment to the Air Force Academy in West Point, and 1 with a scholarship to the Citadel, I look forward to helping out the City of Cibolo and our school district in any way I can, as well as the JRTC unit. We thrive in such a community because of the love and support that we ultimately get from you guys. In closing, I want to talk about what ROTC has done for me over the last 4 years. I started as a follower in my corps, and I started with nothing. This corps has taught me leadership, followership, and many things that have formed the basis of where I am today. I've learned so many skills from those around me and those who have built me up. This school district has given me everything. I can truly say that. I thank you so much to every one of your support. Thank you.
Yes. Next, we will have School Board Recognition Month presented by Dr. Gibson.
Yeah, we want to pardon? Yeah, you guys, you don't get off that easy. Oh, they're probably doing part of the next thing. They're going to double down on it. Yeah, they're going to use them for multiple purposes tonight. Okay, you'll see them again in just a second. So principals and administrators, whoever's in charge, we're going to kind of just do this kind of free-flowing like we have in the past, and I'll leave the, Dr. Edwards, if you make sure the mic is on, we'll leave it on. We'll just do the introduction, we'll take a quick pick, and then we'll move on out. And do we want to try to take a picture at the end with everybody, or are there too many people here? Maybe, it may be too crowded, so we'll just take the individual pictures. So we'll try it, we'll see how we do at the very end. So January is School Board Recognition Month, and it's our tradition to do something really special. And if you hadn't been here in January before, you're in for a treat. But I want to kind of set the stage with a brief comment, and then we'll talk about what we're going to do. So the Schertz-Cibolo Universal City Independent School District is joining the celebration statewide for School Board Recognition Month. Working as a team of 8, which is myself, the superintendent, and the 7 trustees, SCUCISD trustees serve as a role model for our community that has become increasingly, or statewide, which has become increasingly more complex, making decisions aimed at ensuring that every child at SCUC has a chance to graduate as a college-ready, career-ready, or military-ready student is more challenging. To do that, SCUCISD trustees oversee a budget of just over $158 million, keep up with ever-changing education laws and mandates, and spend countless hours on professional learning and state-mandated training. And I'll deviate from the script a little bit, all for the humongous pay of $0 per year. In a time of uncertain state and federal funding, these local leaders work together to give every child in SCUC an opportunity for success. Our school board plants the seeds of success for over 15,800 students this year and growing, helping guide them to brighter futures. So during TASB's January School Board Recognition Month, we want to give thanks and our humble support for these volunteers sitting to my right and to my left. And in their honor, a series of books will be donated to each of our various libraries. And we have some special guests here to introduce those. So I'm going to bring all the trustees down front. We're going to kind of wait over in the wings, and then as you're presented, we'll catch the photos as we go, I think will be the best way. So trustees, we'll let you head on down. I'm going to get out of the picture, and we're going to go ahead and start with whoever's first in the queue, and we'll catch a quick pic, and then we'll go on to the next one. Students, don't run off. We may try to take a picture at the end. And whoever's first can go ahead and start. Yep.
Our first campus is Cibolo Valley Elementary. We have a third grade student, Mr. Chance Rodriguez. And representing Cibolo Valley Elementary is Rhonda Young-Michael, our assistant principal at Cibolo Valley. Thank you. Next is Green Valley Elementary. Our principal, Shannon Johnson, is with her student, Joseph Connor, fourth grade student. Next, we have Pascal Elementary, Allison Miller, principal, and first grade student, Manuel Serrato. Fourth grade. Oops, so sorry, fourth grade. Next is Watts Elementary, Deanna Jackson, principal, and first grade student, Ivana Otoya Valencia. Next is Wiederstein Elementary, principal Mr. Luis Chavez, and third grade student Sammy Hill. Next is Rose Garden Elementary, principal Cindy Ward, and fourth grade student Alexander Figueroa. Next is Schertz Elementary, principal Jerry Pope, and third grade student Connor Solinsky. Next we have Sipple Elementary, Clary Bristow, principal, and first grade student Channing Fisher. Next is Jordan Intermediate, Principal Tina Curtis, and 5th grade student Mia Hale. Next is Wilder Intermediate, Principal Sarah Dauphiné, and 6th grade student Mariah Adams. Next is Schlother Intermediate, Principal Yvette Ross, and 6th grade student Isaiah Littlefield. Oh, I'm sorry, that is Isaiah Littlefield. Thank you, Ms. Ross.
All right, representing our secondary campuses, we're going to start off with Dobie Junior High, President Vernon Simmons, and Cade Jackson. Did I say president? I said president.
I like that. I really do.
He's running in 2020. That's right.
I'm the new principal of Dobie.
There you go. I'll switch it up. He always looks very presidential. Next up will be Corbett Junior High with Principal Rashad Ray and Nina Delgado. Yeah. Next up, we'll have Clemens High School. You've already met her, Jillian Moore, and she's accompanied by Miss McClellan. From Byron Steele High School, Ronald Estes and Miss Simmons will be accompanying him. Representing our 18+ program, we have Duran Davids. Good job. Our representative from Allison Steeler Enhanced Learning Center was not able to make it tonight, so Dr. Newman and Ms. Cerna are going to come up here together, and they're going to present their books to both board members.
Give me 1 second.
No, you go ahead, Ed. You're primary.
I stuck the landing. Here we go. Thank you. Nice job. Thank you.
As everyone is making their way back to their seat, or in some cases probably their exit or escape, we'll close this recognition with, again, I think we just gave a round of applause to our students. Let's give a round of applause to our trustees for all that they do. As they're making their departure, I failed to mention that our culinary arts students tonight provided a wonderful meal to our trustees and dessert in honor of School Board Recognition Month, and so I was glad to participate as a Team of 8 member with that.
We'll move on. Now we will have the monthly board recognition of district partners, collaboration, and district level advisory committees. As part of the Church-Cibolo Universal City Community Partnership, we would like to acknowledge our numerous key partners and collaborators who are active contributors in helping the district achieve its missions and goals. Tonight, we salute partners who help make the Church-Cibolo Universal City Independent School District a destination school district. From Methodist School-Based Healthcare, we welcome Juan Maroney, Vice President, and Jessica Munoz, Director of Communications for the organization. Methodist School-Based Healthcare provides student and public health care to the greater Church-Cibolo Universal City community. It is the largest private, faith-based funding source for healthcare services in South Texas. Ms. Maroney and Jessica Munoz.
President Westbrook, Superintendent Gibson, and members of the board, thank you for the opportunity to provide an overview of our school-based health center program that we offer in Guadalupe County and specifically here in the school district at Schertz Elementary. We've brought along some brochures that Jessica Munoz will hand out. She's our Director of Communications. Methodist Healthcare Ministries is pleased to continue this partnership with Church-Cibolo Universal City ISD in service to the students and families in this community for the past 18 years. We understand the challenges that parents often face with needing to take time off from work for healthcare appointments for their children, and this partnership allows us to ease some of that burden by providing a trusted and conveniently accessible point of care in the local community, not only during the school year, but year-round. The clinic is open to families in the district. We will enroll all children in the family up to age 21 as long as at least one child is enrolled in and attending school in the district. Parents of the children at Schertz Elementary campus can schedule appointments where their child can be seen during the day. Our staff works in coordination with the school nurse to transfer custody of the child to attend their appointment and then return to class. Parents may schedule appointments for their children who are not at that campus either before or after school. Just a quick highlight of the services that we provide. Primary medical care, including immunizations, flu shots, sports screenings, and physicals, as well as mouth guards for the school athletes. We charge $5 each for the mouth guards, which are custom made in the school colors, and we do approximately 100 mouth guards a year for children in the district. We've also provided flu shots and TB tests for the students in the Health Occupations Training Program at Steele and Clemens High Schools in preparation for their clinical rotations. And we've provided this service for about 100 students for each of the past 2 years. We provide dental care, general dentistry services to include cleanings, as well as a limited number of procedures performed by our staff oral surgeon. We also conduct a broader dental prevention program in the fall that provides for screenings and a first fluoride application for children with parental consent at several of the elementary and intermediate campuses in the district. Notices are sent out at the beginning of each year inviting parents to allow their children to participate. Last year, we provided this service for over 800 children in the district. We have licensed counselors and social workers who provide individual and family counseling services, as well as case management services, which includes emergency food, rent, and utility assistance, prescription assistance, and support and assistance with Medicaid, CHIP, and SNAP applications. We also have a parenting program coordinator who provides personalized home visits for parents from the prenatal stage through age 5, with the focus on providing parents with information, resources, and support to foster positive, nurturing relationships with their children, ensure that their children are free from abuse and neglect, that they're monitored for developmental targets, and are immunized and ready for school. In summary, our unique partnership with Schertz-Cibolo Universal City ISD has been an extremely positive one, and it has been a great benefit to this community. The district has been gracious in providing a beautifully remodeled clinic space on the Schertz Elementary School campus, and the staff at the campus and district levels, especially your school nurses and district social worker, have served as great liaisons and advocates for our services. In 2018, this partnership allowed us to provide services to over 2,500 students in the district's catchment area, and the majority of these students are uninsured. This has resulted in over 7,000 patient encounters with all of those young people. And we welcome the opportunity to continue to dialogue with you and team members at the district to determine how we might be able to better serve the families in this district and reach out to serve more families. Thank you.
This evening, we're also honored to welcome Banner Huggins, president of the Schertz-Cibolo Lions Club. The organization provides supplies and scholarships for district students. Lions Club International is the largest and most effective community service organization in the world, working together to answer the needs and the challenged communities around the world. Thank you for being part of a wonderful relationship built upon our district core values of leadership, character, commitment, service, and learning.
Thank you. Good evening, Dr. Gibson, President Westbrook, and of course, board members and all those here tonight. It's a pleasure for us to come. It's pretty simple, Lions serve. We're proud to serve the Schertz-Cibolo Universal City School District. We are a very small group of about 3 dozen serving Schertz and Cibolo, but we are an international organization. Locally, we are involved with the Schertz Public Library as one of the sponsors for 1,000 books before kindergarten. We volunteer at Gutierrez Park, most recently adopted their hummingbird garden. We offer scholarships to area graduating high school seniors. We work with RACAP with food donations and by sponsoring families during the Thanksgiving and Christmas seasons. We put together Easter in the Park, which will be April 20th this spring at Pickerel Park. We support the Texas Lions camps in Kerrville. This is where kiddos with Down syndrome, type 1 diabetes, as well as other physical disabilities can enjoy summer camp as other children. Vision is a big part of our service. It started in 1925 when Helen Keller challenged the Lions to help serve the blind. Therefore, here locally, we collect glasses and we refurbish them for redistribution. We do sight screening in children, and this is where we've served the most with the school district. Just this past year, through pre-K and kindergarten alone, we did spot screening on 1,200 plus students. 6% of those were found that needed to be referred to further exams, and we did so. I'd really like to thank Lion Amy, Lion Andy, Lion Darlene and Ronnie, Lion Dottie for their help on this key element of our partnership with the school district. Thank you very much.
We would also want to recognize some of the advisory committees that contribute to the betterment of our school district through public engagement and feedback. We will begin with the Community Advisory Committee, comprised mostly of community members, along with a few members of our Church-Cibolo Universal City Independent School District staff. The Community Advisory Committee works to provide actionable feedback to the superintendent of schools and senior leaders. Their feedback will typically relate to stakeholder satisfaction, engagement, and matters related to facility development, annual budget development, and a recommendation to the Board of Trustees for names of future facilities. Speaking on behalf of the Community Advisory Committee, we have Marion Dolford and Dr. Irene Petrisky.
Thank you, Dr. Gibson, President Westbrook, and members of the school board. I've been part of the Community Advisory Committee since its inception, and when my husband and I moved here in 1987, the community was only a population of 9,000. The demographer report this month, we are at 40,000, so we have seen the changes. Anyone is invited to come and attend and participate in this very important advisory group, because the superintendent and the board, they do ask that, and we have people from, all over different perspectives and give very valuable input that has helped us in the growth of this community. Like I said, we meet here every Wednesday, the first Wednesday of the month, of every month, and lots of valuable input is needed, wanted, and we value your participation. So please attend, and thank you so much for offering this kind of advisory group, because it's been needed, seeing the growth from 9,000 to 40,000. Incredible. And as you've seen today, the students have been the ones who have really gained so many opportunities from the programs that we have available to them. And what's wonderful that I've noticed over the 31 years that I have lived here is our students who graduate, they come back and they participate, they come back and they visit, and we see the success. So it's been really neat to see, from little kids to graduates, and now community citizens in their own right. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you again. I appreciate it all, and I'm sure that you have heard everything pretty much. What I'd like to say is that one of the things that you take a look at as a citizen outside is you have this building and you don't know what's in it. You have offered us, citizens, to be able to come in here and see just exactly what is happening and how we can help. The other part of it is how we can actually get that out to other citizens. Sometimes they do not understand, but being here today and seeing these students come in here, what an asset they are to the community, to the school, to themselves. And I want to thank you all for allowing us to be able to do that. Thank you.
Mr. Dolford.
I knew you couldn't pass up the opportunity, Mary.
Of course not.
I knew you couldn't.
Of course not. Good evening, Mr. Westbrook, members of the board, Dr. Gibson. And I'm certainly glad tonight that I'm not on a soapbox, because much of the audience have disappeared. So I'm glad I'm just here to commend tonight. And I became a part of this community quite some years ago. As a matter of fact, it was in 1972, quite a few years ago, and came here as a young, hopefully bright young man, had my first assignment as a teacher over at Clemens High School. And at that time, Clemens was relatively a new building. After having an opportunity to participate on the CAC, Community Advisory Committee, I had the opportunity to give some input. Some accepted, some not, but nevertheless, I had the opportunity. And I thank the board for that opportunity. In fact, I thank the entire community and the staff here at SCUCISD, which I was a part of for about 37 years. So in my retirement, I've endeavored to give back as much as possible, as much as my new career will allow me, and I'm happy to do that. And in so doing that, I have always been a believer in parity and equality in the schools, and especially in SCUCISD, which I'm a part of and I'm a taxpayer in. So this district is very special to me. And I want to say to the board tonight and to the community how pleased I was, not only after having visited the new Rose Garden, which was overdue for many years, but I had the opportunity to tour the new facilities over at Clemens. And I'm especially partial to Clemens because I was allowed that opportunity back in '72 to teach there. And walking through those halls and seeing the new facilities and seeing that we do have true equality. Years ago, they used to tell us, as long as you've got a good teacher and she's prepared, or he is prepared to teach, that's all you need. That was never the truth, and it's not true today. Parity is important. Equality is important in education, and that's true with the facilities. So I want to commend the board and the community tonight for seeing that vision and following through and establishing what I would consider to be just one of the most beautiful high schools I've ever seen. I had a chance to see the new auditorium, the event center, and it is absolutely among the best. So again, thank you, SCUCISD, for showing leadership and vision. We appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Dr. Patrisky.
I'm glad Mr. Dalford mentioned about the beautiful facilities that we have. FYI, a factoid, the architect who designed the new auditorium is a Clemens High School graduate. So students contribute in so many ways.
Deal. Thank you very much. Mr. Suarez, proclamation.
President Westbrook, Dr. Gibson, members of the board, January is National Mentoring Month. And before we read the proclamation, we would like to recognize Communities and Schools, which is our district partner. We recognized them earlier this year in the fall, but they are here and they are a vital part of this school district. So I'd like to recognize the Director of Mentoring, Sonia Chapa. Sonia, if you can come up. Mr. David Ricker, the Director of Community Partners. And we also have members of the Schertz Fire Department, which are an integral part of mentoring, and they mentor at some of our campuses. So we'd like to read this proclamation. Whereas in 2002, the Harvard School of Public Health and Mentor, the National Mentoring Partnership, created National Mentoring Month. And whereas the goals of National Mentoring Month are to raise awareness of mentoring, recruit individuals to mentor, and encourage organizations to engage and integrate quality in mentoring into their efforts. And whereas a mentor is a caring, consistent presence who devotes time to a young person to help that young person discover personal strength and achieve their potential through a structured and trusting relationship. And whereas quality mentoring encourages positive choices, promotes self-esteem, supports academic achievement, and introduces young people to new ideas. And whereas mentoring programs have shown to be effective in combating school violence and discipline problems, substance abuse, incarceration, and truancy. And whereas youth development experts agree that mentoring is critical to the social, emotional, and cognitive development of youth, helping them navigate the path to adulthood more successfully. And whereas mentors help young people set career goals and use their personal contacts to help young people meet industry professionals and find jobs. And whereas mentoring is a proven cost-effective investment. For every hour invested in mentoring, there is a $24 return to society. And whereas all of the above listed benefits serve to link youth to economic opportunity while also strengthening the fiber of our communities. And whereas despite these benefits, 1 in 3 youth will reach age 19 without a mentor, constituting a mentoring gap that demonstrates a need for collaboration and resources. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Schertz-Cibolo Universal City ISD does hereby proclaim January 2019 as National Mentoring Month, recognizing communities and schools of South Central Texas for a partnership of continued support, and call upon public officials, business and community leaders, and educators to encourage the citizens of Schertz-Cibolo Universal City School District to observe this month with appropriate ceremonies, activities, and programs that support this great program. And I believe a motion is in order.
Correct. May I have a motion?
Mr. President, I move the Board of Trustees adopt the attached proclamation in recognition of National Mentoring Month and in recognition of communities and schools of South Central Texas for their partnership and support in providing in-school mentoring opportunities in the Schertz-Cibolo Universal City ISD.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes unanimous. Thank you very much. Oh, thank you very much. Does everybody know why they created firefighters? They created firefighters so that law enforcement would have heroes.
Oh, my God. Thank you so much for everything you do.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Next, we will have Veronica Goldhorn and Dr. Brett Limley, recognition of principal representatives.
Good evening, members of the board, President Westbrook and Superintendent Dr. Gibson. I'm Veronica Goldhorn, Director of Elementary Education Services, and it is my honor to introduce our elementary principal, Mrs. Allison Miller, principal at Pascal Elementary. If you'll come on down. Allison has been elected to attend this month's board meeting, and yes, you get to. She gets to come. She has been in education for the last 20 years and 17 years here in SCUC. A fun fact about Allison Miller is if anyone knows Miss Allison, she is all things Texas A&M and Disney. So it's my honor to introduce Allison Miller.
Good evening, members of the board, President Westbrook, and Superintendent Dr. Gibson. I'm Brett Limley. I'm the Director of Secondary Education Services, and it is my pleasure to introduce our secondary principal who is attending this month's board meeting. Her name is Ms. Stacy Cerna. She's the principal of our DAEP campus. Ms. Cerna? Ms. Cerna has served in education for 24 years, 20 here in SCUCISD. A fun fact about Ms. Cerna is that she originally went to college to be a pharmacist. So there you go. Yeah. The whole time. Let's go get a picture.
Now we will have an opportunity to hear public comments. The first we have is Lisa Jackson. But before, let me read the instructions while you're. So in order to provide consistency and fairness to all individuals, public comments will be heard in accordance with Board Policy BED Local and procedures outlined in Administrative Regulation BED. Comments should be limited to topics such as policies, curriculum, and facilities. Any direct criticism of a specific employee will not be heard during public comments and should be considered separately as provided in board policy. In this context, individuals are cautioned to not identify any employee by name or by any combination of words or descriptions which could identify the employee to another individual. Public comments will be limited to individuals who sign up to participate in the public comment portion of the meeting before the board meeting is called to order. Delegations of more than 5 persons shall appoint 1 person to present their views. An individual who signs up to participate in the public comment portion of the meeting may not relinquish their time to another individual. No public comment shall exceed 5 minutes. To ensure compliance with time limitations, a yellow card will be held up by the board secretary at 4 minutes, and a red card will be held up at 5 minutes. Yes, ma'am, Lisa.
Good evening, Dr. Gibson, President Westbrook, and board trustees. My name is Lisa Jackson, and I live in Cibolo. I've had an opportunity to visit with many of you over the years when I had the role as mayor of Cibolo. And I've been a very active part of our community over the years since then. I'm a small business owner. I'm also a very concerned parent and citizen of our community, and I do appreciate President Westbrook referencing some comments that I made at the Cibolo Council meeting a couple of weeks ago. It doesn't end there. I wanted to come here tonight because I believe what I have to say tonight is an ongoing concern in our community with regards to online social media and some bullying that's been going on within our community. And the reason that I've decided that this is bothering me so much is that last fall I was given the opportunity to lead a nonprofit organization, the Little Black Dress Society. And to give you a little background on what we do, we advocate for those who have been through domestic violence situations and assist with scholarships towards things like furniture, deposits towards renting a home of their own, and even transportation. Individuals must apply for us to consider assisting them, and they must have left the abusive situation. And because of this role and my concerns over any kind of abuse, I've been very distraught over some online abuse that's been occurring, which I referenced earlier. I'm also quite certain that many of us in this room know that it's happening because several people are members of certain groups on Facebook. groups that claim to promote the sense of community and a place to be educated on our area. Many of you may be wondering why I chose to bring this concern before the school board tonight. Well, it's because our children are also being exploited in these groups, and they're being bullied. In at least one of them that I'm aware of. And recently I was provided screenshots of this going on. I actually have them with me tonight, and I'm happy to share them privately. It's also important for you to know that these screenshots have been shared with authorities on at least 2 occasions, only for us to be told that there's nothing that can be done. And what concerns me the most is that those who are in these groups sit back and watch the dialogue that's occurring and are saying nothing. So I come before you tonight to challenge each of us in this room, most importantly our elected officials, to stand up to this exploitation. When you say nothing, it means you're okay with it. The worst thing that we can do as adults is to turn the other cheek and let it continue. I'm sure that you are aware that this is a learned behavior. Our children are watching. They look up to us. They mimic what we do. So again, I'm asking you to unfollow, remove yourself from any group that exploits others and bullies our children. There are many of us now in this community that are linking arms. We've had enough. Please join us in showing that our community cannot be tolerated any longer. Thank you for your time tonight.
All right, thank you. Next we have Jake Porter from Camp Gladiator.
Hi, thank you all for having us and hearing. Thank the members of the board, Mr. Westbrook and Dr. Gibson. So I am a director with Camp Gladiator. We are an outdoor group fitness company. I've been with the company about 5.5 years. So I just want to talk a little bit kind of about the company, what we represent, and what we are trying to do here in San Antonio. And I'm gonna let Roger kind of speak a little bit more to what he's been doing here in the Schertz and Cibolo community. So kind of want to start with our mission statement. Our mission is to positively impact the physical fitness and ultimately the lives of as many people as possible. So we're a very mission-driven company, and we're really passionate about making an impact in our communities. And we know the only way that we can make an impact and really change people's lives is to truly ingrain ourselves in communities and build communities as well. People originally sign up for us because they are looking for a workout, but what keeps people coming and what really changes people's lives, and now we have campers that have been with us for 10 years, 5 years, 8 years, things like that, and that are planning to be with us for their entire lives, they continue to come back because of the communities that we do build. And so one of the things that we really like to do one of the ways we really like to try to impact the communities is really trying to work with some of the pillars in the community. And one of the biggest pillars in any community, anywhere, is always going to be the teachers and the schools and the people that really have an opportunity to make impacts in the kids' lives, parents' lives, all of those things. And in San Antonio, kind of a little bit about us and our team here in San Antonio. I've been here since whenever we started. We had 6 other trainers. Now we're at about 80 trainers in San Antonio. A little over 6,000 members across San Antonio. And we're really passionate about our mission, which is to try to change the culture of fitness in San Antonio. A lot of people can, we're kind of the land of tacos and things like that, but so we encourage you to still go get those tacos and stuff, but come get your workout and everything too. But we know that that's a grand statement. Saying that you want to change the culture of a city or change the culture of a community is not an easy task. That's not something that's going to be completed next year, 5 years, 10 years. It may be 20, 30 years before we could say that we have completed something like that. And we're crazy enough to believe that we can. And really, I think some of the stuff that Roger's been doing can kind of speak to how we've been doing that and just what we would love to continue doing in partnership with SCUCISD. Sorry.
I came to the school, or came to the community 4 years ago from the military. I left the military, and now I'm here in San Antonio. I wanted to get away from the cold weather. So for 4 years, we started with 2 trainers here with only about 100 community members part of our camps. And now, 3 years later, we have 712 community parents and kids that are part of our program. Kids meaning maybe 14 and up that are actually out there participating in our program. Everybody else underneath the age of 14 actually are coming out with their parents and working out next to their parents side by side. And we encourage that. We're already working with Rose Garden Elementary as well as Cibolo Valley Elementary doing team building with the teachers and the kids as well. We're going to be working with Corbett Middle School next month with team building as well. And in the last 2 years, we have put on, in 2 weeks, we put a kids community workout together in 2 weeks, and we had 97 kids come out and participate. Last year, we had over 157 teachers or kids that came out and participated in our community fun workout at Nimitz Park. And we want to continue on with that. We also worked with the Y and the city of Cibolo at their new sports complex when they put on every week in the summer that there would be an organization that would take over the area. And we have put on a major event with that, and it was a great turnout as well. And we really want to partner with the school district on that. Fundraisers, we donated $500 to Still Knights Booster Club as well. We're working with the Still Knights girls basketball team just for fun workouts and just to come across that. And we would love to do more with the school district too. It's our time. We want to serve the school district with no cost at all. We just want to serve you guys, the kids, the parents, the teachers, and the staff. So. Good. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we will do the superintendent update and report on the 86th Texas legislative session.
Priscilla, these are extra, and if anybody wants one, I've made extra copies. There may be enough for everybody that's remaining. So real quickly, thank you. 2 quick updates. One on the legislative update, and then one on high-level rounding. And well, I just gave mine away, Jerry. Thank you. Okay. With regards to the rounding in the fall, I'm not going to go through all of this. I just want to put it in your hands and kind of draw your attention to something that was a little bit different with protocol. Thank you. The reminder that when we round, we ask a specific set of questions, and we try to stay with that so that we can kind of compare semester to semester the responses. And I believe this semester we had kind of a high watermark in a positive way with the number of trustees that rounded with us. And that's really meaningful to the staff for you all to join in those. And so I'm going to go ahead and make a plug that we're starting to work on the spring rounding dates right now, and so you're about to get an invitation for that. And then just, and again, this, by the way, is an incomplete document because I've got a round of follow-up with cabinet members on the elementary and the secondary rounding. But just this will be reported out next week. And the main difference is we trifurcated the results between cabinet as one group, elementary as a separate group, and secondary as a separate group. And so the rounding themes come from those 3 different groups. It was good to put them all together before, but then some things got lost because there's some issues that are different for those 3 groups. So this will provide, I think, an opportunity for those 3 groups. So elementary staff, secondary staff, and then cabinet members are split out in the documents. So does that make sense? And again, it's just presented to you for feedback, and we'll be filling in the red, yellow, and green stoplight report in the next week or so. Then with respect to, and that's submitted to you as just kind of you capturing, I guess, our best thinking as we went to all the campuses and departments this last few months. Then in way of legislative update, as part of my report, it's interesting that it does appear that we have a greater alignment between the big three, meaning the Speaker of the House, the Lieutenant Governor of the Senate, and the Governor, that something needs to be done this session on school funding. And even beyond, everybody, I think all three of them in the past, whoever held those roles, if you said, do you think you ought to change school funding, they would all say, sure, yes. This is a little different. They've all given press conferences, submitted bills, really put a lot of teeth, I guess, behind, we're right now, I guess I just want to caution everybody that so far there's just speeches. Sometime in the next week or so, the Legislative Budget Board puts numbers to all these words that politicians at the state level are saying. And then reality hits, because you have to find a funding source for everything that has been said. Now, the House believes that they can find, bless you, for the next one that's, in the queue. The House believes that they can find $9 billion within the existing budget and the rainy day fund in order to inject $9 billion into the foundation school program, and that's not including growth. And so that if you include growth, that would take it up closer to $11 billion. And the Senate's coming in a little bit less than that. And Paige, I'm drawing a blank. Senate's closer to $4 billion, and and a big portion of that, if passed as is, and it won't be because these are just bills that are filed, the teacher pay raise, which has been stated with the Senate, sounds really, really good, and it's almost very hard to argue against it. What you're hearing is a little bit of the, okay, wait a minute, is this funded beyond this biennium? If we make that part of our pay scale, what happens in 2 years if it's not paid for? And the other thing is that takes almost the whole $4 billion from the Senate. And so you really don't do any school reform, if that makes sense, with that. So yeah, it's hard to argue against it, and I don't know that I'm arguing against it right now. I'm just saying, if you do that, then school finance reform is over. You just spent the whole thing that you're offering. And then the governor is watching all of this, saying that he's fully in support of a change to the formulas as long as it has significant property tax reform. So that's kind of the thing that the dynamics that we're gonna be watching. So 2 things in the next few weeks. Well, actually, it'll take now 2 months of just a lot of meetings and talk, and then they'll start crunching numbers, and sometime in April we'll get down, and then they'll scurry in the last 30 days and get it all done. That's the way it usually works. So I say that seriously to just ask everyone to not get sideways about stuff that is said in the next 45 days. No one believes anything, even the ones that are saying it. This is just the time in the session when everybody gets up and gives their speech. So we have to be aware of that. We've got to really just wait and know that reality will settle in sometime in April, and we'll really buckle down. We need to keep communicating. We need to keep advocating. I appreciate Mr. Westbrook spending a lot of time and effort right now on advocacy as the board president and also as a member of TASB. So are many other trustees, our great conversations team. Now is the time for us to go shake hands and talk to people and kind of lay the groundwork for the session, the close of the session. That's my report, Mr. Westbrook.
Thank you, Dr. Gibson. Is there any correspondence? Having none. Next, I believe we have Kelly Kovacs for the taper report, taper update.
Sorry, Kelly triggered something. Okay, go ahead, Kelly, go to the podium. Thank you so much for saying Kelly's name. I do want to point out in the rounding themes that we sent over, or 100 recognitions. That is a little note card, that goes out. And I get a joy at the end of every week, reflecting on everything that I heard all week long and providing just a simple handwritten note. I will say that in the fall semester, Brett Limley, Veronica Goldhorn, Kelly Kovacs, Lista Schwartz, and Serena Georges basically gave me writer's cramp with the amount of individual recognition provided to them. Their name came up repeatedly, and that doesn't mean, there were over 95 other people and some received multiple, but there was a real pattern that emerged with the 5 of you, and I just didn't want this moment to go by without. And Lista and Serena, y'all stand up, please, so everybody knows who we're talking about. Yep. What? In fact, if y'all, I see the cameras coming out. Brett and Veronica and Kelly, get over there real quick, and y'all get some pictures real quick. So Ed, get fired up and go. Y'all, or come up here. Come on. Let's just do. Let's do this. And Mr. Westbrook, thank you for indulging that. And I just want to make sure, and again, to the 95 others that plus that received positive comments, keep up the good work. We really appreciate it. Those 5, you have a lot of respect out, and with our staff.
Okay. Hello. Thank you for the opportunity tonight to present to you the TAPER report for SCUC. This is based on 2017-2018 data, so it's a little bit lagging, and we'll see a little bit of that throughout the report tonight. This is something that we are required to report, and it's really part of the TAPER itself. The whole report is really broken down into 3 parts: STAR results, post-secondary readiness, and staff and student demographics. But a real key piece to this is sharing those results, and so that's what we're doing tonight. There's a lot to the TAPER report. We tried to pull out some of the highlights. At the end of the report, or at the end of this presentation, is a link to the entire TAPER report in case there are more questions or you have interesting thoughts about something that maybe we didn't share with you tonight. You're welcome to dig into that, and we'll try to answer any questions that you may have as well. So let's start with just kind of overall thinking about the district and where we are. This is information that came out actually in August, so this is not new information, but it is part of our report tonight. The overall rating of SCUC this year was a B. This A through F accountability is new this year, so this is the first time that we've had a through F rating, and so we were pleased to see the B, but we still have some areas that we can work on. Additionally, back in August came out all of the campus ratings and distinctions. You'll note that these are not A through F. They're still met standard or did not meet standard. However, all of our campuses did meet standard. Beginning next year, they will have an A through F accountability as well. So let's look at the TAPER report, starting with the STAR results. We pulled out a few highlights. One of the things that we're very happy to see is that all students, all tests, the district is performing equal to or better than the state when we look at all grade levels on all tests. Additionally, we are very pleased to see the English language learners increase 19% in all tests, all grades from year to year. This is a huge jump. You'll see it again in the data here in a moment. We also are pleased that we can see master's level for all students in SCUC scoring higher than state averages on ELA reading, math, science, and social studies tests for the STAR. A few areas of focus for us from the STAR in particular: approaches versus meets. Starting in 21-22, as it stands currently, the approaches category will no longer be considered passing. Only meets will be considered passing. And so for us, all students, all tests, if we looked at that this year, 58% of our students would have met that passing standard. Of course, that may change. The legislature and the TEA and all of the powers that be that consider STAR may change that. It's possible. They talk about it often. So we'll see where that stands. But as of now, we just need to keep an eye on that as we move forward. 5th and 8th grade science, we've had mostly flat ratings or scores over the last 3 years in 5th grade science, and we've decreased in our 8th grade science performance over the past 3 years. All of that, we're still over the state averages, but only slightly. So it's just something we want to continue to keep an eye on. We are focusing on that with our curriculum and assessment work right now, as a matter of fact. And then writing scores. 4th grade trend line is showing decreased performance over the last 3 years, and the master's level for writing, the only one that's below the state average for masters is in writing. The fourth grade, I should mention though, even though the fourth grade trend line is decreasing, the state's fourth grade trend line is decreasing at an even faster rate than SCUC. However, it is something that we want to continue to pay attention to and to work towards in the future. So let's look at a few graphs. We tried to limit these because it's a lot to see. But for the most part, we're showing you 3 years worth of data. And that's a lot because in 2015, 2016, the state increased across the board the passing standard for STAR. Since then, the passing standards vary occasionally year to year, sometimes higher, sometimes lower. And notably, in 2016, 2017, the state also changed how special education students are tested so that more special education students are taking the on-level STAR test. So when we see the district scores going from 82 to 83 to 84 over the past 3 years, that's actually a celebration because the test has become more difficult to pass, and we've had more students factoring into that number than we ever have before. So we are pleased to see that number going up, even if it is only slightly. And then we wanted to also compare that with some specific groups of students. In this case, we're looking at race, and you can see how we've pretty much held flat across the board for the last couple of years for our, all of our subpopulations in terms of race. Looking at the same information, but now in some programs, for special education, economically disadvantaged, and English language learners, there's that great jump we were talking about for our ELLs from 54 to 73 in just 1 year's time. The master's level, we also mentioned this as a highlight. We are in the blue there for 2018. These are our latest numbers, the blue, and then the state number there is in that kind of grayish brown color. So you can see we're ahead of the state in all areas except for writing, and that's a focus for us. We want to also add a layer of the priorities to this information, and so we want to also take a look at our priority for reading on or above grade level in all grades. So we've specifically pulled out those reading scores in all grade levels, and you can see that we are above the state in all areas from 3rd grade to English 2. And then the writing scores, this is where we notice that decreased trend line that 4th graders have. It is an increase though at 7th grade, and I will also want to note that while the 4th grade is decreasing at a lesser rate than the state's scores, the 7th grade scores for the state have also decreased over the last 3 years while we've had an increase in the last 3 years, so that's a celebration as well. The second portion of the TAPER report is post-secondary readiness. So we'll take a look at a few highlights. Some things that we really love to see is our ACT performance for SCUC. This is class of 2017, so this is lagging a couple of years. State rate was 20.3 and we were at 22.5, so almost 2 points better on the ACT. Class of 2017 participation in the SAT, ACT increased by 24.6% to 92.5%. You can see how far that is above the state rate. That was the first year that we offered the SAT during the school day. You'll also note that that's not 100% because it's not always appropriate for every student to take the SAT. We've got some students in special education situations and things like that for whom the SAT is not appropriate. So 92.5 we're very happy with. And then we also had a great jump in the CTE coherent sequence completion. Again, this was class of 2017. That increased by 10% to 71.6. At that point, the CTE coherent sequence meant 3 classes in a row that articulated with one another. So again, 20% above the state, which we were very pleased with. A few areas of focus, SAT results at or above criterion. Again, class of 2017, this meant an 1180 overall combined score. 20% of our students in SCUC met that, and the state number was 22%. So that's something we obviously would want to consider. We'll talk a little bit more about the SAT in a moment. Also, approved industry-based certifications were very low. I want to make a note that in this particular year was the year that the state changed how we measure industry-based certifications. It used to be that any certification would count in this number. This was the first year that the state said these particular certifications are the only ones that count. And so we had a very low number, but even though it was low, it was clearly lower than the state as well. So we've been working on this area actually for the last couple of years, and we'll talk about that more in a moment as well. And then college, career, and military ready graduates. This was based on student achievement in 2016-2017. SCUC was at 52.9, and the state was at 54. And we're going to get into that number a little bit here as well. So again, layering in our priorities, we want to talk about the CCMR numbers. This is where we show that we are just slightly lower than the state average in that year. But we wanted to just take a moment to talk about what does that mean? How do you become college, career, and military ready? These are the state's indicators. They say you are college, career, and military ready if you are any of these things. First of all, college ready, we're talking about a 3 on an AP test or a 4 on an IB exam in any subject. Meeting the TSI criteria, this is a college entrance test in reading and math. Earning 3 hours of dual credit or in ELA and mathematics, or 9 hours in any subject, or earning an associate's degree. Those are the ways that you can be considered college ready. In terms of being career ready, it was earning an industry certification. Remember those very specific ones that they changed this year that we're seeing the data. Or if they're a graduate with a completed IEP and workforce readiness, this is pretty much for our special education students, or the CTE coherent sequence. And then for military ready, it was it still is, enlist in the United States Armed Forces. So we looked at this and as a district thought, you know, there might be other ways that we could see that students could be college, career, and military ready. So we did our own little study. And this was what we did. We looked at all of our students in the class of 2018 using the same college ready indicators that the state uses. Then we changed a little bit. These here in yellow are changes from the state. We said career ready that they would need to complete an endorsement and earn a certification, where the state said just a certification. We made that more difficult than the state. But for military ready, instead of just having enlistment, we included if you have an ASVAB score above 31, you are military ready because you could be accepted into any of those institutions. If you've completed junior ROTC, coherent sequence, or if you've been accepted into a university ROTC program, we think those things are also showing that you're military ready. So when we put all of these indicators next to all of our students in class of 2018, we would have had 76% of our students who met this version of the college, career, and military ready calculation. So let's just take a look at some of those numbers again. These are a few of the things that lead to the CCMR number. So the approved industry-based certification. Remember, again, in 2016, any CTE certification counted in this number. In 2017, they changed that to a very specific list. So particular focus has been given to this. The Amy Massey and the CTE folks have been working very hard to include more of the industry-based certifications that are on that approved list over the last couple of years. We expect this number to actually go up quite a bit next time we see our information for next year. The coherent sequence grads, remember that was 3 courses in a row that articulated, was at 71.6%. That is much higher than the state by 20%. We're pleased with that. The college ready graduates for TSI and ELA or math were at 45%, again higher than the state average of 37. And the AP and IB, this is where they met the scores that were needed for that. We were at 21.7, and the state was at 21, or at 20.1, pardon me. SAT average scores, we wanted to show just the class of 2017 because in this year, the SAT itself changed significantly. This poor class of 2017 had a lot of things changing on them that they weren't in control of, and the SAT was one of those. So this is an indicator, but it's one that we can't show you 3 years of data because it's really comparing 2 very different tests. But you can see where we stand. On the left is the state and the region is in the middle, and then SCUC has the highest number there at 1023. This is one of our celebrations, the ACT average scores. You can see over time we've significantly been above our state and regional averages as well. The last portion of the TAPER report is staff and student demographics, so we have just a few things we want to highlight there. The teacher turnover rate in the district, as you all know, has historically been much lower than the state, and it continues to be. It's at 8.1, where the state is at 16.6. We also have very experienced teachers here in the district with 12.3 years of experience on average. We also wanted to take some of their demographic data and also pair it with our priority, especially considering the SCUC traits of a graduate, which right now is heavily being taught through the counseling staff. And so one of the things that we get from the TAPER report is ratios. So the ratio on average in SCUC from counselors to students is 1 to every 530. That can be a little misleading if you consider that not every campus is equally distributed. So you may have a campus with 900 elementary students with one counselor, or you may have a campus with 100 students with one counselor, just depending on where you go in the district. But on average, 1 to 530. Also with priority 2, thinking about our high-performing and engaged workforce, we're looking for satisfactory scoring on our annual survey, and what we're really saying is, are people happy to be working here? And so looking at the turnover rate, we can see that people are staying here in the district, which is really a positive thing. Just one thing to note, you can see over the past 3 years, our SCUC turnover rate has creeped up slightly. It's just something to keep an eye on. We're still well below the average in the state. We also want to show you a little bit of the turnover rate comparison by region. And so we looked at within the region, and so we looked at all of our neighboring districts. Notably, you'll see that New Braunfels is not noted in the 2017-2018, and really that's because their TAPER report had like 93% turnout. We think it was wrong. So we took it out because honestly it messed up my graph. But you can see SCUC continues to be below its partners, our nearby districts. And so that's our report today. We wanted to be sure that you all have the same information that we all do. There is, as I said, the full TAPER report with much more information included here at the end of this presentation that you're welcome to take a look at. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions before public comment.
Any comments, questions?
I just want to make a comment. I did look at the TAPER report, and I want to say that when I looked at the IB, I was like, wow, our English, and I think it was math, they're just killing it with the scores. They're doing a great job over there with the IB in those departments. We like blew it out of the water compared to everybody else.
Thank you.
One other question. In the 2017-2018 year, why did ELL go up 19%? To what can that be attributed? And is it reproducible, or what are we talking about? And you have great results, but you can't produce it because you don't know why, then it's just, what are we talking about?
Well, we think part of it was just a part of the curriculum work that we had been doing, and it was actually for the 16-17 year students. As we've moved forward with a focus on a guaranteed and viable curriculum, quality instruction, and then opportunities for assessment and remediation after that. So it's really a combination of all four of those things, and really coming back and answering our 4 questions. What do we want students to know and be able to do? How are we going to know if they know it? How do we respond when they don't? How do we respond when they do? So it's really, the credit really belongs to our campuses, our campus teachers, our campus administration, and then how we kind of help and support and facilitate that. But it's really boiling down to individual students, their individual needs. Quality instruction is quality tier 1 instruction is the biggest. That's it. I mean, I don't know how else to say, but really focusing on meeting those kids' needs, and then intervention programs.
You answered it 30 seconds ago, but thanks. I'm joking with you. Thanks, Dr. And I know you didn't put this together because your graphs are way different than they're.
I appreciate you saying different and leaving it.
I said different, yes.
Mr. President, I did have one question. I noticed the writing was down, and I know it's a statewide problem. What are y'all planning on doing to address that, or is there an easy thing to do to address that? I know the state's been having an issue for several years, and now it's finally showing up in a very concrete way. So I was kind of curious what plans the district has as far as addressing that and getting those numbers back up. And maybe we can be start something in the state. It'd be nice to be able to do that. So I'm just kind of curious.
Well, I can speak to what we've started this year, which is a portfolio system for all of our students in K-12, and really what that at the core of that is a bigger emphasis on writing and making sure that we're helping our students to see how they're growing in their skills over time. Sometimes it's just students understanding what they can see that they've done, understanding their own progress. But I think at the core of all of that is that we've given additional writing instruction in terms of professional development to our teachers, and our teachers are now using that with our students beginning this year.
Okay, that'll probably show up in the next couple of years. I know this is not something that's going to show up quickly, but it's going to take some time, so we got to start somewhere. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
There's no more from the board. I guess this is an opportunity for the public. If you have any comments or questions, Dr. Petrisky?
Well, and Nick, I know you've had that burning question about math at 4th grade, so we'll get to that.
Mr. Westbrook, I agree with your comment about the difference between the graphs and the information provided. I was going to compliment Ms. Kovacs. Excellent to make it so concise, given all the information, because I have looked through every one of those reports for every campus, and Ms. Kovacs did an excellent job in just making it, focusing on the main issues that the district needs to look at. In my opinion, a score of B is excellent, given the formulas that the districts have been charged with having to meet and the different indicators. I have attended the assessment conferences for the state, and whenever the Texas Education Agency has given presentations on what's going to be required and especially asked of the principals and the teachers, it's mind-boggling. That, in addition to everything that a campus staff member has to deal with on a daily basis. So district-wide, getting a score B, it's excellent. It really is. Ms. Kovacs mentioned the game changer, the different testing, the criteria on what's tested and so forth. That is correct. A lot of good in the district is what I looked at was the amount, how we have increased the level of student participation. And I was especially impressed with the SAT and ACT, and when Ms. Kovacs mentioned, well, we've offered those tests during the day, that accounted for that increase, and I believe that the district should continue with that, because the more students that take this, the more opportunities they have to earn scholarships, be accepted into universities. The higher the score we can help the student achieve, the better for not only the student, but the parents on a financial end. The writing course, Mr. Finley, you had brought that up about the decrease. We had asked that question too at the conference when we met with small groups, and this is the generation of thumb writing. Okay, they don't complete sentences like when I was growing up, the sentence structures and so forth. This is a whole different ballgame. So we're having to deal with what the students usually, this generation of students, they don't do complete sentences and paragraphs and so forth. It's Instagram, it's, 14, so many characters. So that is an issue. Whatever professional development, again, sentence diagramming and paragraphs and so forth that the district can offer, that's wonderful, but it is, noticeable because of the generation that we have going through our school systems now. Overall, I think we're doing great. Again, it's very, very difficult to earn a B. Not easy. Even with the STAR test, the meeting requirements. The level is kind of low, but everything else, all the other factors that are part of the taper, it's hard. It's very difficult because you are dealing with the whole students of our community, the whole community. And that's a lot. That's a lot to ask the school district. So compliments to the school district, especially the teachers and the campus administrators, because I was thinking it, but it came out of my mouth during the TEA presentation, what they were expecting for the principals and the teachers to do. And it just came out. I said, you want them to do what? Because the formula was so convoluted, and yet they were supposed to make it the parents, the ability to tell the parents how to explain what these scores mean and so forth. It was very difficult. But anyway, compliments to the school district. We do have things that we do need improvement on, but you know what? We're doing pretty good considering the issues that we have to deal with on a day-to-day basis.
Thank you, Dr. Patrisky. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to comment? No? Going once, going twice? We have...
Mr. Westbrook, as we get ready for board advocacy and then the consideration for a break, we have about 10 discussion items, and we're going to queue those up to be 2 to 3 minutes each. That doesn't mean that if you have questions, we won't stop, but there are going to be a couple of them that are an exception to that, but generally speaking, and I'll do update 12 in 30 seconds, and just to set the tone for that. So you kind of have a calibration of the time that's available.
All we have is board advocacy, which will take maybe about 5 or 10 minutes, and then the students can leave if they so desire during the break. Each month, the Good Governance Self-Check addresses the expectation for trustees to discuss, review, and measure board advocacy for the district within the community and with other governmental entities, and develop procedures to actively strengthen community partnerships to improve overall performance and stewardship of public resources. Basically, this is a summary of board members are expected to be advocates in the community and be seen and visit with other people. Go on with that, Dr. David Peevdo.
Thank you, Mr. Westbrook. I was able to attend a quarterly one-on-one meeting with Dr. Gibson. A couple of other board members were there as well. So it wasn't really one-on-one, but it was close enough. I was the important person in the room, by the way, but that's okay. Oh, okay. All right. I thought maybe you needed some help down there. I continue to do my watchdog thing at Green Valley Elementary, and it's always a wonderful time. Also, on that same day, which was the 9th, was able to attend the Outstanding Student Presentation at Wilder, which is students are nominated by their teachers, and the Kiwanis Club gives them an award, and it really a lot of kids were presented, so that was great. And then I was able to attend the robotics competition at Corbett. It was the first round. It was for the elementary and middle school, or elementary, intermediate, and junior high school students. And we do have a lot of schools moving on to the next round. It's a full day event. It's really wild, but pretty nice event. Again, Watchdog at GV at Green Valley Elementary on the 16th. And then, of course, here tonight, regular board meeting, and I plan to watchdog again tomorrow. I won't be able to watchdog next Wednesday, but I'll figure something out. So that's it. Thank you.
Wrestling? Is there really anything else? So I have been to all the wrestling events that our students have been to. And yes, I have boys that wrestle. Went to the DIC, the CCAC, did a couple of luncheons with the Tri-County and the Chamber. Did the PTC quarterly meeting last week as well. Do want to put a plug in again for wrestling this weekend. Our district is hosting a fairly big tournament at Corbett. And I know since all of y'all missed the last one, I know you're really looking forward to being at this next one.
What sport was that again? What sport?
It'll be at Corbett, 8 a.m. I'll see you there.
Yeah, Jerry.
I got the opportunity to participate in the naming committee. That was a lot of fun. There's more to follow. I participated on in the one-on-one with David and others. Tri-County Luncheon. On the finance committee for communities and schools of South Central Texas. We had a meeting. Northeast Partnership Luncheon, and then that combined Community Advisory Committee meeting. CIS had a board meeting, the chamber had a luncheon, and then I got the opportunity to go to the Guadalupe County Youth Livestock Show. That was a lot of fun, and then there was an auction on Saturday. They got to auction off their livestock and raise money for scholarships and that sort of thing. Had to have 500 to even get in past the bid or anything.
As far as advocacy in the district, the month has been kind of a challenge for me. Spending a lot of time with my wife. She's in the hospital right now, so I'm dealing with that and doing research, trying to get her better after 9 years of a crooked disease. So a lot of my time has been taken up with that. When I wasn't dealing with that, I was getting ready for the advocacy conference in Washington, D.C., which I'll be going to this next weekend. Looking forward to that. I've been looking for that for several years, or several months anyway. I would like to ask every board member and Dr. Gibson and the staff if anybody has any ideas or something we need to look at or things that you think are important in Washington, please forward those on to Dr. Gibson. I would like to make this event as productive as possible. I realize we have a lot of challenges with the government shutdown right now, but anything we can do or anything I can bring to this conference, try and either get information back or deliver to Senator Cornyn or Senator Cruz or whoever we're going to see up there would be greatly appreciated. I've thought of a few things, but I would really like to make this as productive as possible. So hopefully I'm bringing back a good report from Washington. I'm not sure that's possible, but with everything going on, and to go back to the first thing, what I've been dealing with Pat, we do have a definitive diagnosis, so that's looking real good. So if this happens, I'm going to have a lot more time to really get involved in what's going on around here. So I appreciate your indulgence, and we'll keep going with that. So definitely let Dr. Gibson know anything. If the smallest thing, I want to make this trip as productive as possible. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Lieutenant, what's called the Exceptional Governance Conference put on by TASB, or hosted by TASB a couple weeks ago with President Westbrook, and basically there's a whole lot of professors giving their research conclusions on the effectiveness of school boards. The thing that probably hit home with me the most, though, was Bobby Blunt, who's a Northside ISD trustee, and I guess he gave a presentation about Muhammad Ali. And what was Muhammad Ali known as? Who was that? Okay. That's kind of what he did with us. Everybody kind of knew the greatest. And he went into this whole thing of who's the first person that said he was the greatest? Muhammad Ali did, right? And he called himself the greatest. And somehow he said it enough where he became the greatest. And part of the thought was that, you know, as a school district, call ourselves good, tell ourselves we're good, tell our teachers they're good, and somehow or another they live up to that. I mean, you become good by thinking you're good and saying that you're good. And again, you can't call yourself the greatest, then go into the next fight and lose the fight, right? And I mean, he made himself great by calling himself the greatest in some respect. And yeah, he gave the big history lesson about, I guess he called himself the greatest back in the early 60s before he actually became the greatest. And just self-fulfilling prophecy. But anyways, that's the one thing I kind of walked out of there, I think, with the most was from a fellow trustee and not all the PhDs that were there. Just FYI. So, yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with PhDs.
I also attended the combined CAC meeting. Went to Corbett High School. Got to say hello to several teachers and learned a weird fact. I don't say weird. The Hopmans, the Teskies, and the Porters are somehow all related. And I asked if y'all were one of the biggest teaching folks in this district, and Miss Teskey said yes. And anyway, there's a whole bunch of family here in this district: Porters, Hopmans, and Teskies. And then I attended the XG Summit, and to sort of segue from what Gary was saying he was saying the greatest because he said that North Side had a sustained culture. You know what I'm saying? So every great achievement, starts with the idea to try. And so then what you decide to try, you call yourself the greatest, and it leads to a sustained culture, which produces results. And I think that's what we're trying to achieve here, is a sustained culture that people can come and go, but the culture and the processes exist, for continued improvement, over the long term. So I think we're headed down that road. So I think that's what Bobby Blunt was saying. So we'll take a break now. Let's come back at 8:10. Thank you, the students, Mr. Estes and Moore. Miss Moore, thank you very much. welcome back. We're back to new business. A report on the 2018-2019 District Strategic Plan Scorecard presented by Wayne Pruski.
Again, Mr. Westbrook, these are going to click along pretty quickly. We had a lot of recognition on that, and that was worthy, and we needed to do all that. So we're going to click these along. Just ask any one of the presenters to stop if you have a question.
Yes, thank you. This evening is a Priority 3 update. While I am up here, there are other members of the group of the cabinet that have pieces of this as well, if not all of us. This is just a reminder of the entire scorecard, the district scorecard with Priority 1, 2, 3, and 4 shown there. We heard earlier on the presentation, TAPA report, all graduates, college and/or career and/or military ready. As a reminder, Priority 2, high performing and engaged workforce. Tonight, what we're going to talk about is the update for Priority 3, highly satisfied students, parents, and community. So as you can, this is just right off of our website. I wanted to pull that up there. So today we're going to talk about, I guess that's kind of beige. I don't want to get the color argument, but on the Priority 3 here. So without any further ado, I'm going to call to some colleagues to my left here to assist here, especially on the SAS side of the house. So So again, tonight, Priority 3, as mentioned, highly satisfied students, parents, and community. With the purpose statement that SCUC strives to listen and learn from our key customers to provide service excellence in order to build strong relationships and exceed customer expectations. So again, this is the district listening and learning to our key customers, and what does that look like and what are we striving to do? So again, a snapshot from just the Priority 3 piece. So in the upper left box, we have our strategic goals, followed by our key annual results. And then on the upper right, our key annual strategic actions. And then at the bottom right, our key annual progress monitoring measures. So in a way of movement, we're talking from lower right, up, down. It's like a backwards N, I guess you can call it. So trying to achieve these strategic goals by 2022. Again, by 2022. So we're listening, learning, to our customers, namely the students, parents, and community. So where does that start? So again, with the strategic goals. On the student side, 80% satisfaction or higher on the SCUC ISD annual student satisfaction survey. On the parent side, annually increase the percentage of student-parent retention year to year attending the schools. And on the community side, 80% satisfaction or higher on the annual community survey. So those are our key strategic goals. The annual results. So this is, again, the goals 2022. By 2022, we're there. Key annual results. These are our yearly results that we're looking for. On the student side, annually increase the satisfaction to attain 80% or higher on the student satisfaction survey. On the parent, annually increase to attain, as you see there, the same 80%. And on the community, annually increase the satisfaction to attain 80 or higher by the June 2022. So we're doing these steps annually, and we're looking to increase that satisfaction while we get there from 2019 to 2022. How will we do that? So some actions that we're looking at on the key annual strategic actions. The first bullet, collect and utilize feedback on campus extracurricular and co-curricular activities. Scott, you want to mention what you said today at Team 1 real quick?
Yeah, I mentioned the coaches are a paranoid bunch. We rolled these out for the first time to our cross country and our volleyball programs, our football programs. We create an extracurricular survey, gave that to our kids. Preliminary results have been great. Looks like we're gonna year 1. Coaches get some great feedback and a lot of clarity and in some cases confidence of what they're doing.
Thank you. Also then, following down, you see the other strategic actions that we'll design and deploy a district-wide marketing plan, collect and utilize feedback using our district protocols for the student survey, parent survey, and community survey, with the community survey being fully developed spring of 2019. Ms. Goldhorn, would you like to jump in as far as on the survey dates and the strategy there?
Traditionally, And the process that we have used is that in March, we survey our parents, and in April, we survey our students. However, in the spirit of continuous improvement, we want to move those surveys up, where February, we are administering the parent survey, and in March, administering the student survey, in order to get those results back in a timely fashion for our campuses to act on and be able to share with their staff. Currently, we were receiving that in June after everyone was gone, but now we'll be able to get that before our staff leaves for the summer so they can have that information. And Kelly Kovacs pointed out that it's going to be very instrumental as well in utilizing that feedback as we go forth and plan for a district needs assessment. Because we are also refining our processes with that and providing that information in our district advisory council, and we'll be able to provide that before we leave for the summer and have our district advisory council be a part of that information as well.
Thank you. And then also to add on to that, the community survey will also begin deployment in the March timeline as well, the March-April timeline, and be deployed across our website and other tools that we have available to us. The final bullet there, then, deploying a consistent district-wide customer service plan. We're currently in the framework of moving forward with that. So lastly then, on our progress monitoring measures, as Scott mentioned, quarterly semester survey of sample students, but this one then by the grade levels as well. So 4, 6, 7, 10, and 12 regarding engagement. Weekly monitoring of student attendance. These are the steps moving that line up forward then. The survey of extracurriculars, there it is, I knew it was in there. And then the mid-year survey of community members, the quarterly check-in with the CAC. We've done some of this, looking to get this tighter and more efficient. And then also the monthly reporting of advisory committee attendance. So some of this, and I want to preface this also, and this needs to be stated, it's not a done, stamped, we're finished. We actually modified this last month in a team 1 where some of the priority 3 language was changed. So we're working our way through this. It's very challenging to ask, to attain, and then to put some action plans together, like what we're saying on the timelines, getting it and having it to where it can work for us. So some observations on the process, the dedication of the Team 1 members. And like I said, this plan is not etched in stone. It's a living document right now. It's a living plan, the priority that is. And then we're also, with the observations of looking forward to the survey data. If you were at the CCAC, as some of y'all mentioned, we did the community survey there. As you saw there, 80% or higher satisfaction. On that one, with the scoring of just that survey, we got 82% satisfaction on there. That was of that, just a check-in on the CCAC. So kind of starting from there. Some opportunities moving forward is to continue to work on the key annual strategic actions and make sure they're the right actions. To continue to work on the annual progress monitoring measures, if those are correct. Because as we go through this, we know through learning and moving forward, we're going to have some issues and some challenges, and also then the implementation, as I mentioned, of the web-based community survey, something we've going to be doing in March. So tried to do that, but I wanted to make sure we gave it its due diligence. If you have any questions, we are here to answer. So let me go back to that one.
I have one question.
Yes.
It's more just clarification. Ms. Goldhorn, you mentioned that we do parent surveys first and then student surveys second. Again, this is just curiosity. I don't have any, just trying to learn. Was there any reason why we chose to do parents first and students second? That would be any different one way or the other? We did students first and parents second?
No particular reason. No, sir.
I was just thinking that if you flip that from one year to the next, you could end up, you might be able to find out little things that you didn't know before. That if you run the same thing every month or every time the same time of year, and you always do the parents first and the students second, if you flip that over, you might find something different. I'm not saying you would. It would just be interesting that you can almost like a self-correcting yourself. I can't find the right word. Verifying effort. That you may find something that you didn't expect if it was done the other way around. think it would. I just sometimes just to shake things up a little bit, just to try a little bit different. It may not make a doggone bit of difference, but then again, it might not. So I'm just curious if there was any rhyme or reason behind it. That's fine.
Yeah, I would agree. Timing is everything. So that's a great idea and certainly something we would consider.
And if something doesn't work, and I just thought it might be interesting to flip that over, or I like the idea of moving it forward into February, because by the time March and April roll around, the kids are starting to go, we're done. I mean, April is like, they can see the end of school, and it's like, they're really done. So, just curiosity, so I appreciate that. I appreciate the effort of getting the surveys out there, and they're very helpful, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
Any more questions? Just as out of the surveys in the last 3-4 years, I'm really not asking for a response, but could you be able to point to say, hey, out of all these surveys, here's what it came from, here's what it grew? Well, you don't have to, I don't want to put you on. It's just, sometimes we have survey after survey after survey, and so we get the results, but we never know what changed.
We started staff, I'm going to use staff as an example, and the other ones are relatively new. It just so happens we reported one of the lowest teacher turnover rates in the state of Texas, and that started a downward trajectory the year we started doing the engagement survey.
And I do want to share, Mr. Westbrook, President Westbrook, that one of the things that we noticed is that in the student engagement survey, one of our lowest areas in our district has been students do not feel respected by their peers. And that has been the lowest item that keeps coming up on our student survey. What is hopeful is that in our implementation of an SEL survey that we are implementing through Cassandra Gracia's leadership, it speaks to the specific counseling framework, Cassandra, in which area is that with regards to respect in the 5 areas?
It's under relationships, building relationships, and treatment, basically treatment of people.
But we feel like this is going to be an opportunity to teach teachers as well as students on working on that aspect. As you mentioned earlier in the opening of our meeting about bullying, it's so important.
That'll be gauged with Panorama?
Yes.
Yes, that's correct.
See, I listen every now and then.
I don't want to just start, and I appreciate you saying it's rhetorical, long, exhaustive list, but a couple that just popped in mind. After school art came as a direct result from feedback on the survey. The robotics program came as a direct result from feedback. So I'm starting on this, so I'll stop right there. But those came right out of themes that we saw in our feedback, and we started the ball rolling.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Pruski, you're up again.
Yes, sir.
Construction update.
So I did a little counting, and it looks like we have this construction update for Bond 2016 is going to focus mainly and primarily, mostly on Clemens High School, with the other ones kind of having a pause at the second. But we have roughly 15 months left for Clemens High School. So what does that mean? Well, we're finishing up on the inside, and then we're going to move on to the outside with the new parking lots up front, the exterior fencing, cleaning up, and then hoping by March of 2020 we are done. So there's that light is there. It's light at the end of the tunnel. So as you see there is 85% complete. Still have some challenging items inside. Just as a list here for the ongoing events, the event center turned over in use, so that's done. Auditorium turned over in use. Interior renovations, which you'll see, are complete as well. The teacher bullpen, ALE, and new classrooms, those are turned over here this summer. This winter break. Got ahead of myself there. And then the interior renovations going on in the old auditorium and practice gym area. Then the west stair enclosure, that's the enclosure there that will connect the S wing and the ROTC wing, and then A wing renovation. So you see they're kind of moving forward there, looking at finishing up. So as I mentioned, we're inside now. All the exterior is complete, and then there's the future parking I was alluding to, and then we'll have the fencing for the campus.
So moving along. This is Maintenance Drive, looking towards there, so that steel structure, that is our connector bridge. It's actually a real thing now. So we got the steel in there. We're trying to move in there. If Mother Nature will just cooperate a little bit, we can move forward and get that thing moving. Hoping to have that, as mentioned up there, complete by March of 2019. You can see the backside, the site working on the north side of the stadium. And then inside, this is the renovated area here where the teacher lounge on the left and what we're affectionately calling the bullpen. As this campus grows, you'll have more and more staff, and some staff will need some places to land. This is one of those areas. Excuse me. There on the right. Some interior shots of the mailbox wing on the left, the storage and vault, the nurse's office in the center top, and then some book storage there, really exciting. So then the renovated locker rooms, this is the old gym. So the old gym renovated locker room areas, they are now the science combi labs and some prep spaces. And as you can see, that if you were ever in those old gyms, or old locker rooms, I should say, sorry, the locker room side, this is now the new area here. Now we're getting into some of what it used to, the previous slide, what that used to look like. Now we're looking at the renovated B area. So B wing, first floor, we're looking at Christmas of 2019. Excuse me. You can see it's just, the demo work is starting and there's the things behind the scenes. So you see the nice pretty wall there behind there, that wood separation, that's the work going on. The renovated spaces here in B wing, they'll have the HOSA, Combi Labs, etc. So this is what's been turned over. And then inside, more demo work going on in the C corridor. So this is where we're hoping to be in by December 2019. This will be the new computer labs and some storage rooms and IDF, which is very important to that campus. Outside, you can see the courtyard work going on. That's actually our concrete pour for the second floor in the old gym. So the culinary center, so to speak. So we have the first floor poured. This was actually going on the 21st. Another picture of that. You kind of get a better idea here of the gym space. There's first floor, and then here's that second floor. So the old auxiliary gym, which would again be in the CTE area. That'll be the culinary downstairs, and then the forensic labs upstairs in the support spaces. The west stair enclosure, so picture on the left, this is the enclosure. So if you recall, we used to have the old blue stairwell that went up to a perch and you walked in. Well, now it's going to be encased. So safety and security to assist with that. You're not going outside and people aren't coming straight in from outside. So this is an interior turn. Here's a look on the right there, not completely done, but they are working as quick as possible there. And you can see the baseball field just to give you some orientation there at the bottom. Excuse me. So A-wing first floor. So we're moving the schedule up a little bit, looking to be finished here in August. We were able to move in with collaboration and coordination with the campus staff and admin and working to compress the schedule a little bit, so we're able to get in there so we can get out of there sooner. So the new A-wing will be new classrooms and office spaces as well. And that's going to be the end of this report here for Clemens. Any questions?
Wayne, did we have to close some more entrance or exits? I've heard from a couple of people just after Christmas.
I'm sorry, what was that?
More exits, like coming and going. They shut a few more down for the kids. I'm thinking in and out where they were going. Is that because of the enclosure over there on that one end?
Yes. That had to be closed off to allow us to work on that, and that's why they're trying to get that done as quickly as possible.
Okay.
And once that pops out, we'll be able to open that back up, and that'll give some space there as well. We also had to close A-wing because we're in A-wing downstairs, so they can't go out that wing like they were used to. That's now construction. Part of that is a coordination effort that we'll do as well. And in what we're trying to also do, if I can go a little further on that, is we're going to try to do A-wing workers, leave that open for students because they're going to be separated, or is that B-wing? the separation of the workers. They were going to be in the rooms, and we're going to be able to use that hallway at certain times.
We shut off the hallway.
Shut off A.
Yeah.
A shut off. There we go. Sorry. Any others? Okay.
Any questions? No. Next, we will have the superintendent's summative evaluation.
This is just, thank you, Mr. Westbrook. This is just a quick update or overview of the process. So this Friday, you'll receive the report from Dee Dee's email on the different indicators that the board has approved. Next week, the board will complete my summative evaluation. February the 5th is set aside as the workshop. As board operating guidelines stipulate, we try to have that where that's the only item on the agenda. And then at the February board meeting, if needed, if anybody wants to propose any changes to the process, that's your time to make the proposal for changes to the process. That's my report.
Thank you. Some of those things that we have thrown into is past, evaluation. We've been instructional management, organizational morale, organizational improvement, personnel management, management of administrative, fiscal, and facility functions, student management, community relations, professional growth and development, academic excellence indicators, and school board relations. So all of that is factored into his summative, and sometime during the spring, I guess every board member will have an opportunity to sort of create some new performance goals in the upcoming year. Next, we will have discussion for the school year 2019-2020 budget development process presented by Dr. Gibson and Paige Maloney.
Go ahead, Paige.
I think Dr. Gibson is distributing the first draft of the budget parameter memo for the 19-20 budget planning process. And we do have copies, anyone in this meeting wants them as well.
So one of the things, anybody watching this for the first time might go, wow, they just ran through next year's budget, in 2 minutes, and that was pretty fast. There's nothing in this document that's different than what you spent the past 6 months studying. All it is a compilation of all of that effort. Now, we're watching the legislative session, and Paige, you've quantified things that we just maybe discussed verbally. So if that's all right, we'll just have her hit some of the highlights. You'll see this document probably once a week between now and June.
Okay, thank you very much. In the opening statement, the two things that we really keep at the forefront is we are looking at our student enrollment trends and have like to go over the lower student growth scenario. And assuming that the state funding formula stays the same, because of the nuances in the formula and the lack of a significant commercial tax base in the school district, we are generating less revenue per student than surrounding ISDs, so that translates into less expenditures per student. And the assumptions and considerations, everything on the left column are all of the things that we went over in the top 10 presentation that gave us the state of the state. Those are our assumptions that we built the budget on. And there's really no evidence to change any of those assumptions at this time. We also have some standard considerations which we will have to decide as a team, looking at compensation increases, looking at if there would be extra expenses for the 2018-22 strategic plan, of course the impact of the legislative year. If we were to increase the M&O tax rate, that would trigger a tax ratification election, our ability to increase the INS tax rate, new staffing positions due to student growth, moving some of our expenditure projection plan, if we were to move some of those into the general operating budget, and of course we have to keep the analysis of our charter school enrollment, historical analysis in the forefront. Some non-standard things that we're considering are a 10% reduction in the 6200s, which would be our contracted services. If we were able to achieve a 10% reduction, and everything is under study right now, that would equate to about $1.1 million that we would have to play with for next year's budget. We'll get to that in just a little bit. And then of course, Ms. Cannon will be talking tonight that we will have the results of the TASB salary study that'll be coming in February, in February. So we know that that's on the horizon. I'm going to scratch that governor's plan for the 2.5% cap because that's going to go into everything that's in the legislative session, and I'm going to take that out prior to the day. The next page, and I won't go through everything because we covered much of it in our budget workshops in the fall. But if you just break down our revenue and our expenditures, you know, the revenue is pretty straightforward. The formula generates what it's going to generate. Most of any increase is going to be due to student increase, and then where those weights fall within the programs that those students are associated with. Of course, we know, we've been over this time and time again, with how much the golden pennies would generate for the school district and the copper pennies. Those would, of course, any additional penny would require a tax and gratification election. And, you know, at this time we're thinking, and Dr. Gibson, I'll defer to you too, you know, we would consider a tax ratification election if the legislature doesn't allocate additional funds to public education.
Yeah, and we'll just leave it at that because, so we'll run kind of a parallel track here of monitoring the state. If this is for real, then, you know, maybe we don't have to have it. If we wind up with a lot of rhetoric and a goose egg at the end, you know, then we got come June 1, you know, we got to make the hard decision. I would like to probably keep the conversation just that between now and then, that we're just studying, we're just watching the legislature. I mean, that's really the bottom line. And I believe that we concluded the workshops with a pretty good consensus that if we did consider it, it's for 2 cents. Not for 5, not for 13, not for 11, not for what, you know, I think that's kind of where we left it. So we may get pretty quiet about it for the next few months. Don't read anything into that except we're watching the state.
And then another revenue source that we always want to consider is, you know, we see these commercial properties that are going out on 35 and people get kind of excited about those things. On the debt service side, that is nothing but a positive impact. It allows us to collect more revenue to pay down our debt quickly. On the maintenance and operations side, with the current formula, that growth is pretty much neutralized in the funding formula. As your tax base goes up, your state funding is going to decrease. And so we want to keep that in the forefront of our mind as well. Have laid out the estimated cost, HR helped me with this, estimated cost for employee compensation increase. Did it all the way from 1% at a 0.5% increase all the way to 3%. And the blue box, just noticed that, you know, if times are tough in the future, we can always consider a blended approach for compensation increases, where we might do a 1% increase to the pay scale and then another one-time payment that we could give at one time that wouldn't affect the pay scale. So there are some things that we can do to be creative with compensation increases.
All of this is about 1920, so I'm about to make an 1819 comment. And so I just want to make sure everybody's clear about that. I'm asking Paige to put, and Linda to put on the agenda in February, an update on the consideration in 1819 that the board has already approved for a one-time payment. So I'm asking them to put that on there so we can kind of take a checkpoint of where we are on that. That's 1819, not 1920.
And then the rest of those things, we have a lot of instructional and operational deferred position requests from the departments, from the campuses. They've come in over a 5-year period, but because of the revenue forecast that we are faced with today and have been faced with in the past, we have not brought those to the board just simply because it was not financially possible. Of course, the contracted services analysis that we're doing, trying to cut anywhere we can so that we have more room in our budget to do some of the things that we want to be able to do. And then the legislative session, you know, we're going to be following that very, very closely. And as soon as runs come available and we're able to run that, we can say, hey, this is how much this bill would generate for the district. And that'll be weekly when they put that kind of information out and actually do the runs. I think that's when they get really serious about things. On page 3, and I won't read to you, but we know the situation in special education, and I think we've talked about it quite a bit. The graphic tells the story. Our overall enrollment and our special education enrollment are about the same. So we're increasing at about the same number of students the past couple of years overall as we are in special education, which has taken our percentage of special education students from 8.5 to 10.4, and I believe that is even, it's almost 11% today as we speak. So that, of course, is having statewide, that's going on everywhere in the state because of the lifting of the cap, but that's having financial implications on the district. The expenditure projection plan costs, we have to look at different strategies to be able to address some of that long-range planning. I love it that the rating agencies call those PAYGO, and it really is that, making a plan, and then as you have a revenue source, you're ready, it's in the queue, and you can go. So 4 different scenarios, we could pay for them with budget savings, we could go to the M&O fund balance, we could try to integrate it into the regular budget, or use bond savings. And then the couple of things that are there in the superintendent's areas of focus that we just really haven't been able to address at all within the present revenue structure is the elementary charter school at the old Rose Garden campus and a career and technology education expansion. So going on to page 4, what we really tried to do here is to show, okay, there's the amount in the first column for the 18-19 adopted budget, and then you move over to the 19-20 revenue estimate, and then in the green box is your additional revenue. If we are able to have some savings in the contracted services savings measures, you have your additional revenue plus that amount, so you would have funds available to the tune of about $4.2 million in planning, excess over what you had the previous year. So, you know, when you look at those types of things, and especially within the next little block where it says a recommendation built on the $4 tax rate, you've got your revenue estimates, you've got your funds available for planning on top of, and that's to assume that all staff would roll over and everything would stay the same, but that would be your additional revenue at $4.2 million. You can see very quickly that, you know, with new positions for growth, with a 1% raise, we're rolling over those special education positions that we just approved in December at fully loaded costs, not just for half of a year. That would go pretty quickly. So that's there, and then I went ahead and included the additional revenue as you increase the tax rate. So that's page 4. And then on page 5 is the overview of the maintenance and operations fund balance. We did have a negative net change in the fund balance for the 17-18 audit, but the net of $2.2 million, but that net change included budget amendments of approximately $5.3 million for the expenditure projection plan. So we felt like that we came out okay, especially since we did not hit our enrollment projection for that school year. We had much discussion in our board workshops about we had that assigned amount that had been sitting out there in the fund balance for many years, and the number had not changed. And so after consultation with you guys and through all of that process, after the audit, that we got the pre-audit there, and after the audit, we went ahead and unassigned that money, and that has a change that reflects in the bottom line of a change of excess unassigned beyond 90 days. So that is different, but I wanted to point that out to you.
Page bottom right is what's available.
What's available beyond
90 days.
90 days.
Okay.
And I will remind you, and we've talked about this before, the new first ratings in 2021, the recommendation is 75 days of operating. So our policy right now is 90 days. We haven't really talked about changing that at all, but I do want to point that out to you, that 75 days will be in the new first ratings.
Okay.
And then on page 5 is a debt service overview. And I just noticed tonight, I need to edit the first paragraph based on the refi. But if you just, without looking at the bullets at the top, and you look at where we are, after the refi down at the bottom, our initial debt service payment for this school year was estimated to be about $30.1 million, which we were only going to bring in our revenue forecasts. Well, you can see 25.1 with the formula, and then I have the state share. So 25.1. What we were able to do is, with the refinances, bring that down. So now we're only going to have to hit our fund balance for about 2.6 million rather than wipe it almost all the way out. So that was a big thing on the debt service side. INS, yes. And there isn't a precedent for carrying that INS fund balance, but there aren't many districts that have that in policy or anything like that. But for a fast growth district, it really allows us to do some things a little bit differently because we're growing and we have needs for facilities. So. And that is a lot, but in 6 pages.
Well, so 6 pages, it's pretty succinct to describe a whole budget. Thank you all for all the workshops to kind of get us to that point. And now we really will just only share stuff that changes, if that makes sense. And we'll try to mark that with highlighter red or something as we learn more as the spring progresses. So you got a good jump on the 1920 budget. You got a real good jump on the 1920 budget.
Let me ask you a question. It's not really related to what you just went over, but it kind of is because it's 1819 stuff. Has the government shutdown affected our costs for food services in any way?
We just had a conversation about that today to some extent, probably not to a large extent. One of the things that we're trying to be cognizant of that Maggie and Wayne actually presented today is to try to find ways to work inside our current guidelines but still show compassion to those that may be struggling right now because they're not getting pay on a normal basis and not follow our typical rules and if they meet a certain criteria, I guess.
Well, I was thinking more of food costs than anything else, of governmental items.
We're still receiving our commodities, and what we're understanding is that payments will continue through April. So they apparently have reserved plenty, so claims will be paid. So we're not really hearing any of that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And on the federal program side, the money is distributed to the Texas Education Agency at the beginning of the school year. So we just draw down as we pay.
Most quick, there's no effect on those students that have free reduced lunch. That's not going to change. That's not having an impact on that reimbursement from the federal government.
Right now, no.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
No. Won't change, but we might pick up some more families that could qualify because they're earning zero income right now.
Oh, okay.
And so they have to take that into consideration that if they're earning zero income right now, that's a change in economic status for them, and then they would qualify, and then their eligibility would remain for the remainder of the school year if they so wish.
Okay, so right now, then, if we have a child who qualifies for a free reduced lunch, they're not going to. This is not going to stop that process. They will still get that benefit. Okay, that's what I was curious about. Okay, very good. Thank you.
Linda Cannon, TASB salary and stipend study.
Yes, as Ms. Maloney mentioned, we did contract out. Just a reminder that we contracted out with TASB to look at our pay structures, look at employee pay adjustments that may or may not be needed, and then looking at our stipends. And we should be receiving a report back at the next board meeting on what that might look like.
Any questions? Linda Cannon, Chapter 21 and non-Chapter 21 personnel contracts.
Yes, this discussion item only to let you know that in February we'll be bringing contracts to the board for administrators and professionals. In March, teachers, librarians, and our nurses. And in April, probationary contracts.
Any questions? Yep. Kim Williams, Education Service Center Regional 20 Regional Day School Program for the Deaf.
Good evening. This is a discussion item to bring back to the board next month for consideration for board approval. For several years, we've been a member of the ESC 20 Regional Day School Program for the Deaf. Because of declining enrollment, decision was made by the members of that shared services arrangement back in the fall. Stakeholder input was gathered, including from the parents. The decision was made to dissolve the Region 20 Regional Day School Program offering for the shared service arrangement. It will be replaced with services in San Antonio ISD for next school year. It will impact one student currently that we have attending, and that family has been notified. So this proposal is to get your approval for the dissolution of the Region 20 shared service arrangement, and also to allow the district to use Walsh Gallegos as a legal firm to represent the district in this dissolution agreement.
How many total? You said it'll affect only one student?
Yes, sir, at this time.
So we only have one deaf student in the whole?
No, sir. We have about 50 students receiving either special ed or 504 services for students with auditory impairments. These programs are typically for students with more significant challenges.
Okay, all right. Any more questions? Nope. Procurement of goods and services presented by Matt Rivera.
Mr. President, members of the board, and Dr. Gibson, this month we're bringing before the board for discussion 4 items. We'll begin with Mr. Mosley, an RFP for elevator maintenance services.
So the first item there that we have is the elevator maintenance services. We're just looking at services to come out and do our preventive maintenance for our elevators as well as our inspections. The estimate there is $25,000 to $30,000 per year, but this would be a multiple year agreement. So that takes us over our $50,000 threshold. The second item that we have there is our access control upgrade project. This is our access control at Weiderstein, Sipple, and Schertz elementary campuses. This is part of the budget amendment that we approved earlier in the fall related to our EPP funds. Questions on that one? And last one there that I have is our HVAC filters. We replace our HVAC filters every 4 to 6 months, depending on need. That adds up with as many air conditioners as we have across the district, and so you can see that we'll be looking for best prices on those filters for us going forward. And then, if no questions, I'll pass it on to Dr. Burkholder.
And the last item we have is for audiovisual upgrades to Watts, Clemens, Green Valley, and Dobie. This is the second phase of the Bond 2016 retrofit project. This includes demolition and installation of the systems and infrastructure, as well as electrical and drywall. This will be for action in March, and we will bring the panels, the Apple TVs, the iPads, and remainder of the equipment to you at a later time.
Any questions on either one of the 4? Next, we will have a review of the process for consideration of requests to name the following areas located on or within the boundaries of a district campus.
Mr. Westbrook, I'm going to recuse myself from this item, except for the JROTC wing item. It's still high school.
Yes, sir.
I'm just going to remark that I'm totally in favor of renaming that for Mr. Harrod. So I just wanted to give my 2 cents on that, and I'll leave the room. Somebody can holler at me when y'all are done. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Review of the process, Still High School entrance road and Still High School. This is committee report. Amy drives back. I'll let her sum it up, but Amy?
Yes, this is just a committee report right now. So as per the discussion at the December 18th board meeting, and per policy of CW local naming facilities, a subcommittee of the board was formed to review 2 requests to name the following areas located on or within the boundaries of the Still High School. And that would be the Still High School entrance road and the Still High School AFJROTC wing. And the committee was consisting of 3 board members, which was myself, Ms. Seaver, and Mr. Perkins, and 1 community member that serves on the CAC. CAC, I was right. And we met on, actually, I think Monday, January the 7th, I believe that was, to discuss and develop the process to use for consideration of the proposed names. And with that, just for you to know what the naming facility, that you can look that up at the CW local policy. But we have, after our board naming committee meeting on that January the 7th, we put it on an item to report out today. And then we are going to take public solicitation for naming requests for the Still High School entrance road and the Still High School AFJROTC wing from the 23rd through the January 31st, and solicit, collect, and compile those naming proposals from the public. We're going to have an available list by February 1st. And then there's going to be a Still High School subcommittee meeting that will be meeting between February 4th and 8th. And they'll establish a committee comprised of Still High School staff, students, and parents reviews the proposed names for the entrance road and the ROTC wing. That committee will complete their process and deliver a recommended name to the board naming committee. That would be the 3 of us and the 1 community member. We're going to meet again the week of February 11th, the naming committee, and then that will be a board discussion item for the February 19th regular board meeting, and then hopefully it'll be an action item on March the 19th. And this again was just a discussion item.
Any comments, concerns?
Just a comment, I think y'all really took the ball and ran with it, so I think it's going to go the right direction. I think we'll get a lot of good feedback on it, and it's being vetted to the community and to the people who are going to be affected most by this. So in my opinion, I think this is a good process to go through. I'd be curious what comes back, but anytime we get community input, especially in something like this, I think it's a good thing. So.
I want to say too that I think it was great having a CAC member on that committee with us. Somebody that is involved in the CAC, so has that background, but is also just a community member at this time. And so that person gave some great comments and feedback as well.
Just a couple questions. I mean, is the intention to come back with, okay, for let's just call it for facility A, our recommendation is X, yay or nay? I mean, or is it, here are 3 names, board, you pick the name you want? What, I mean, how do you plan on proposing it to the board? Or do you know? I mean,
well, you know, based on the local policy, that kind of, I mean, it's a board decision. So we can come back with a suggested name or throw out the names that they still had, but it's still a board decision for that.
right, I guess I'm just, I mean, we've talked about this. This can get so ridiculously, idiotically complicated over something that's just not that big of a deal. But I'm saying it can be crazy where, are you coming back with a name that we then say yes or no, or you give us a list of names, or what if we come up with our own name? I mean, again, it can just kind of get out of hand again. And I mean, is there an intention on what the expectation is?
I think because we're kicking that back to Steele, and it's going to come from the students and the teachers and the admin, or from there,
Right.
I think we're going to take that recommendation. I mean, unless they come back with Donald Duck or something like that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is there, I mean, this is no small thing. I mean, I don't want to make it sound like it's a bigger thing than it is, but because we've done this in the past. I mean, is the expectation to come back with, we've vetted it, we've gone through it, we've all talked about it, here's the name we're suggesting? Or is it
that is our hope, that they're
here
going
are
to
3 or
come
4
to us.
names, you guys pick one of the 4?
No, our hope is that they're going to come to us with one name.
And then the board more or less says yes or no?
Yes.
That's the expectation. Okay. Which again, I guess by policy, there's nothing that says we couldn't then come up with our own name. I mean, that's what I mean by how this can get crazy. It's just, right? I mean, I just kind of want to vet this out a little bit ahead of time, but just the intention is to come back with a name. That's the committee's recommendation. And the intention is somebody makes a motion and we vote one way or the other. And then I guess you go from there. I mean, that's pretty much how we're looking at it. Okay. All right.
Well, there is also the expectation that the board doesn't have to vote for anything. We can say we can leave it exactly the way it is. So we also have that expectation too, and say
Exactly.
we're going to reject everything out there. We're not going to make any action at all. So we have that expectation also,
That's
which
exactly
again will be
right.
a board decision.
Because it's still a board decision. We're just coming as a naming committee, a recommendation, and we decided that sending it out back to the school that it affects and getting that parent input, student input, and staff input, and then coming back to the naming committee.
And the way this looks now, so just my concern is just as long as we follow the policy, whatever that happens to be, and the way we're reading this is it pretty much gives the board unfettered or wide discretion on how they go about this, because we're dealing with a part of a facility or something like that, right?
And existing.
And you guys, the subcommittee, has decided this is the best way to get there, which is perfectly okay, according to our policy, right? I mean, we're not creating something that doesn't exist, and all of it follows the policy so far, right? That's what we're looking at? Okay.
Yes.
All right, thanks.
And to state that the policy does not tell the subcommittee what they can or cannot do. It just simply says, here's who's going to make that decision, and whatever process you want to go through that you feel is best, then you have that leeway to do that. And then that's kind of what, really when you think about it, it's kind of the intent of the policy in the first place, is to give the committee that ability to make that determination, or use whatever process they feel is most comfortable for them to come up with a good decision or a good recommendation.
Yep. We also know in the past that names have been able to be submitted, so we wanted to follow some of the history that the board has done in the previous as well.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments, concerns? Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
JD.
Can't get peeved then, David. David.
Ready? I'll start. He can.
Yes, Dr. Gibson?
Yeah, so we're going to, Mr. Pivito, I'm sure would not be upset if I start update 112 with him out of the room. I'm 100% for sure that he would not mind. So this is a cleanup item prior to the legislative session, which we could typically get several policy updates after the legislative session. In this week's update, we'll send out the Vantage Point or whatever that overview document, so that you're not like having to look at all the deletions and additions. We'll send you the broad document that's written primarily for trustees, and quite frankly, that's the document that I read to try to get the essence of what the update's about, and then bring this back. If there are no complicated policy changes within this, and it is in fact simply a cleanup update, then we'll probably bring it back to the board in February, and I would recommend consideration for consent as well, if we don't see anything that's highly complicated.
Dr. Gibson, do you anticipate running this by the policy committee, or should we just review it independently?
That's a good idea. And I guess what I would ask, we'll look at it, and if it looks just like simply cleanup, then we'll email the policy committee, and we'll just see if you want to meet or not.
Okay.
If it truly is just, this should have been a comma, and that should have been there instead of there, and all that, I don't know if needing to cover grammatical,
Yeah, I will leave it as your discretion. If you think it's something you need to review, or just send it out to us, and if we see something, just email back to you. So unless it's something really critical.
Is this a normal timely thing? Usually they wait till after the legislative session to.
No, they're trying to get, this is stuff they don't want to get lost in that big one that's coming, and so they were trying to get some cleanups done right before the session.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
It really looks like a lot, because I looked at the C policy, it's just referencing, it's cross-referencing other legal policies just to make sure everything is covered.
That's the bulk.
It's kind of something that happened on the previous one. We had some stuff that was policies that were deleted. They were just fixing the cross references. Okay. Okay.
Any further discussion items for that? Agenda items, next, Board of Trustees, discussion item. Agenda items requiring board action are routinely brought to the Board of Trustees for discussion 1 month and brought back to the board for consideration and possible action at a later date, typically the following month. This item allows trustees an opportunity to consider which discussion items on this month's agenda may be eligible for board action under the consent agenda of a future meeting. Any item placed under the consent agenda may be pulled and voted on separately if requested by a board member.
So, Mr. Westbrook, if I may, this one, usually this is pretty easy. I don't think this one will be, because there's a lot of difference and variation to these. So if, I'm going to just call these out. I'm going to ask for staff help. Linda, I'm assuming no on the TASB salary study, because, so we need to go over it. Yeah, okay, so now I'm going to move to the next one. That's how fast we're going to do this. So Chapter 21 and non-Chapter 21 personnel contracts. Do you need to run over them before board approves them?
Yes, we'll look at those in closed session.
Okay,
prior to.
no, and then we'll bring it back. So it's not going to be in the consent. The ESC day school, day school for the deaf, I'm going to recommend that go to consent if everybody's okay. Okay. And then solicitation for elevator. Solicitation for access control.
Yes.
Solicitation for HVAC.
Yes.
Solicitation for audiovisual system upgrade project.
Can we pull that one?
Certainly. Process for consideration of requests tonight. I'm going to say no on that one because that's the discussion coming
Right.
back from
No,
names.
yeah.
And then I'm going to, again, 112 yes, unless we find something really complicated in it.
That's a question mark.
Question mark. We'll lean towards yes, but then we'll run it by the policy committee. So does that sound all right to everybody?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for that.
Thank you very much. Action items, Dr. Gibson, consent items.
They are here for consideration under one motion. You'll find them starting on page,
95.
thank you, 95.
Does anybody, any board member want to pull any of these?
Mr. President, I move the Board of Trustees approve the consent agenda items A through F as presented on page 95.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes. Other action item.
Two quick action items and then about a 20-minute executive session.
Request for board approval, 2019-2020 school year calendar, presented by Dr. Edwards.
Yes, thank you, President Westbrook, Dr. Gibson, members of the board. Last month, we brought to you a couple of draft options that the District Improvement Committee had been working on for several months. Those, you have access to those as well. We did also bring forth some concern due to the state changing of STAR EOC testing that would impact the Good Friday, it's April the 10th. We shared that with the board. We continued to follow up on that. We worked with other school districts, the service center, and basically petitioned and shared our concerns with the state for that date. We did meet with the DIC again to go over that concern, just in case we needed to change that. Within a few days after that, our plan of modification for the state assessment was accepted by TEA, so it will no longer be a conflict. So we moved forward with the two draft options that were presented to the board last week. And based on several months of input, just processes of gathering feedback, looking at different scenarios, different drafts, we would like to ask the board to approve the 1920 school year calendar as recommended by the District Improvement Committee. And that would be draft 2.
Can I get a motion?
I move I move that the Board of Trustees approve the 2019-2020 school year calendar as recommended by the District Improvement Committee.
I second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any discussion? None. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes unanimous. Thank you.
Can I ask when that'll be, will that go out on the district website soon?
We'll need to convert it to
Yeah,
our cleaned up version of that. So as soon as we can get that out, we'll
Okay.
we'll get that
Because I have
out.
been asked, and I think some of it's because we have different different careers that
Sure.
have to put in for vacation a long time ahead, and they've already started. I said, ask a DIC, probably knows more than I do right now.
I think
so.
typically within a week we can have that cleaned up on that
Okay.
Good
version.
But there should be no change for that cleaned up version of what the board approved tonight, right?
No, the only thing that the board asked us to do possibly would indicate some of the state testing days on that calendar for
Right.
family planning purposes, and so we'll need to go back and do some things like that.
So I would just recommend tomorrow, if you'll, Dr. Evers, just send the one out that was approved and just say this is not the final version, just to team one, not a blast out to everybody.
Okay, to
So
team
everybody
one.
just knows what the dates are, where
Sure.
they've received questions. Now they can start answering questions, and then we'll have the cleaned up one out later this week.
And then the second thing is we have to wait a while because we know what happened last year, and I know it's a long way off, but graduation dates, because
Yes.
everybody's used to seeing those on the calendar, and I know we didn't have those, but I know we're waiting to see how some of our partner ones, if they, where their graduations fall and who we team up with and things like that. So that might be something we put out as well that just says, we'll hopefully let you know by the beginning of fall or something like that.
I think typically what we've done when we initially put that out is maybe put TBD or
Right.
TBA, and then we go back and clean that up. I know just through the conversations with districts on this blow up with the testing calendar and Good Friday, we've had a lot of conversations, and a lot of folks are in the process now of completing, well, a lot of them are in the process, a lot of them haven't gotten that far yet, and so that will help us. There's really one main school district that we
Yes.
work with the graduation, so,
Yes.
and we can check on their status.
Okay.
I think they're about where we were.
Awesome, thank you.
Linda Cannon, TASB Policy Review.
Yes, this is actually an action item to clean up the October 16th adoption of the local policy for a few of the D policies. And there's no changes to the actual policies that were adopted. It was just the language on the posting. And we just wanted to make sure we were transparent with the community on making sure that the language on the posting was the actual item and policy that we adopted back in those days, what the board adopted back in October.
Thank you. Can I get a motion?
It's a long one, that's why. You want, I'll read it.
I'll get it. I move the Board of Trustees approve the adoption of the following local policies contained in Section D of the district's local policy manual per the TASB policy review and comprehensive audits of this section, and acknowledge that the action is being taken for the purpose of correcting errors noted on the October 16th, 2018 posted agenda notice, in order to provide full transparency to the public regarding local policy revisions. The following local policies are affected: DCB local, DEC local, DFFC local.
I second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes unanimous. It's now 9:12. We're going to go into closed session.
Yeah, I'm happy to report we will be meeting in the newly renovated conference room on the other end of the building. Mr. Rivera will depart right now. He'll be ready by the time we get there. And we have about 20 minutes, 3 items to cover in about 20 minutes.
Let me finish reading this record. This board will now adjourn into closed session pursuant to the following sections of the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code 551.074, authorization to deliberate the appointment, employment evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee, or to hear a complaint or charge against an officer or employee. 551.072, authorization to deliberate the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property if deliberation in an open meeting would have a detrimental effect on the position of the governmental body in negotiations with a third person. It is now 9:12. Thank you.
got it.
The board will now reconvene from closed session for action relative to items considered during closed session. The board may consider and take action on any of the following items. Request for board action, employment of contractual personnel presented by Linda Cannon.
I move that the Board of Trustees. Oh, who was going to read? Sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry. I move that the Board of Trustees approve the employment list as presented of contractual personnel for the 2018-2019 school year.
I second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes. Review of board agenda, planning calendar, and request for future discussion and action items. Jerry Perkins.
Let's see, the board calendar of events, NSBA Advocacy Institute. Oh, sorry. The three people listening can't hear me. Ed Finley will be attending January 25th through 29th. And he's already asked us for input if we have any questions. Seal High School football and athletic band and shirts at the Shirt Civic Center Monday the 4th of February. Second board naming facility committee meeting with Amy, Letitia, and myself on Monday the February 11th at 8 a.m. There's a Northeast Partnership luncheon on February 7th at 11:30. Tri-County Chamber Luncheon, February 12th at 11:30. Chamber, Church, Cibolo, and Selma area, February 19th at 11:15. TASB Winter Governance, and that's Robert and myself attending. That's Thursday through Saturday, February 21st and 23rd. And then TASB Legislative Conference and Capitol Visits, Tuesday the 26th. And right now, Robert, Amy, Letitia, and Gary have registered. And I plan to also.
What's the date on that?
That is the 26th.
Add me to it also. Thank you. I meant to do that.
I want to talk to the governor, though. I don't know who can schedule that.
We can try right now. Priscilla.
Got it.
That's what I have. Yes.
If there's nothing more, we can adjourn at 9:46. You good? There won't be a midnight tonight.